Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I'm your host, Stephen Billings, and with me, as always, is your other host, Andrew, the motherfucking, it's his birthday, Cabral. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Thank you for that badass intro.
I know,
It is technically the day after my birthday, but time is all relative. Let's be honest. If there's one thing we learned from Christopher Nolan, is time is manipulative at the very least. At the very least.
But I do want to say, sir, even though it's a day after your birthday, happy birthday, man.
Thank you very much.
We need to talk. I know you bought yourself a lot of things for your birthday, and we need to go through that a little bit. And also we are recording on Father's Day, so
very true.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yeah, all the fathers, the father figures, the guardians, the nice people, I guess, in your life that provide that role for you and others. But my birthday has always been the day before Father's Day. I think every single year, or been around Father's Day every single year. My birthday, falling on June 17th, it's also coincided with like the ending of the school year and start of summer vacation. And there's kind of the start of summer for me, as just in my entire life has always been my birthday. Because it falls, right along those lines. But this year it came up very abruptly. But I think the older you get, the more abrupt it comes.
Oh God!
It's like, shit. Another year, another year's going by.
Damn it.
I spent, every birthday I tried to get some things, because people ask you what you want, people, all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, it's easier if I just pick out my own gifts. And when it comes to holidays and things like that, especially when it comes to movies and such. So I wanted to catch up on some things, but particularly that came out this year, really. I was able to get the second sight limited edition 4K of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which just came out, 2 months ago? Within the last 3 months?
Yeah.
I got it. Let me put it this way. I waited till the last moments, because when I went to finally go get it, the pages on both Orbit DVD and Diabolic DVD were no longer there for it. So I was like, where am I going to go now? But I ended up getting a Grindhouse Video. They ended up having some copies. So I ended up getting it from there. And they shipped very, very well, and it came well intact. And it's a gorgeous set. Probably one of the best, releases for a single film we've had this year. The hype for it was so real. I'm sure many of you at home have it, but once you get it in your hands, it's almost too pretty to like open up. It's such a great set. But I got
it's such a pretty release for such a dirty movie.
And it's actually a lot more compact and smaller than I thought it was. For some reason, I thought it was going to be similar to the Drive limited edition set, like that larger box.
As they say in Roadhouse, I thought you'd be bigger.
Very true. I got that, and then I got 2 Arrow box sets. I've got the Empire of Screams Volume 1. Our buddies over at Orbit DVD, as they usually do, get things in a bit earlier, about 2 weeks earlier, and it ended up coming out right before my birthday. And I was like, I wasn't expecting this until later in June, but let me put in the order now before it starts selling. And of course, it started selling very quickly. Yet again, a really nice, smaller set than I thought. Very compact, very efficient, but a beautiful, really beautiful set. I know a lot of people probably have that, and it's awesome. And then the third, the third set I got, also an Arrow set, is the Lucas Moodysson collection. Now that is an impressive set. Large set, multiple movies. I think it's like 9 movies in there. Large book. Just really well put together. And just the artwork on it is incredible. I know both that set as well as the Empire of Screams was both co-designed by our buddy Scott Saslow. So, it had really great work and kind of a personal attachment here to the show. And then I got some individual things. I was able to catch up on some Radiant stuff with the Sunday Woman. I've got some other things in the mail. Also Radiant's The Hotspot, the Dennis Hopper film, which we talked about. I'm finally getting Party Girl from Fun City. That's coming in the mail. What else did I get? I think that's about. Well, last week I did go out, or 2 weeks ago, I did go out and upgrade my copy of Cool Hand Luke to the new 4K edition. Best Buy had it on sale for $16.99, and I was I was there and I was like, oh, I might as well do it. Now I might as well do it. I'll tell you this, very impressive restoration on that. Very
Okay.
beautiful restoration on that. It's the same special features that I believe were on the disc that came out in 2008, but really nice restoration. Looked fantastic. So I bought that, and I think that's about it. Oh, I did get the Warner Archive edition of Prince of the City, because I do have to say that in the last week we did lose. Treat Williams passed away, who was a
Yeah.
great actor that I think we've talked about a number of times, because a number of his films have been released, um, in the time we've been doing this podcast, and he was always just like the favorite actor of mine. I mentioned my affinity towards the series Everwood that was on the WB network back in the early to mid 2000s, and then he was just a great actor throughout all of his career, going back to the 70s actually. He was in what's the movie called? I have it. It's The Eagle Has Landed. He was in that. He had a small role in that. He was in the movie Hair with Milos Forman, and of course, he was in a bunch of stuff in the 80s. Like I said, Prince of the City, and then the 90s, he was in The Phantom. He was the bad guy in The
Yeah.
Phantom, which I saw as a kid, and I still have the Blu-ray of that. Just an incredible loss, but it's just, yeah, it was just very sudden, but it seems to be happening, and it's
Well,
very,
I mean,
very unfortunate.
his was like sudden because it was not like health concerns. It was as
No,
an accident.
a
Yeah.
motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lived in Vermont and he had a motorcycle accident. He had just and he was very active on social media, specifically Twitter, a lot. He had just tweeted out something 3 hours before he passed,
Hmm.
before he got in his accident. Very, very saddening. And there was a lot of outpouring of people, celebrities and movie fans alike, saying how much they loved him and his work. And yeah, I just a big fan for a long time. Very sudden, but it's also very interesting, appropriate, because every year around my birthday, I don't know if anyone feels this. I get very existential, very reflective, very contemplative about life and the passage of time and all that kind of stuff. So to have a very sudden death really puts that all into a certain perspective. It's as you get older, it is cliche to say, oh, you better start appreciating things more and all those kinds of things, but it becomes very, very true, as cliched as that sounds. uh life moves very, very quickly, and things that you always assumed were the normalcies of your life, whether it's people, situations, all this kind of stuff, someday, very suddenly, those things will be gone, and they'll start to become memories and fade into these surreal type of memorialistic dreams in your head. And it's very interesting how all of that works. It's very depressing too.
Well,
I do like to listen to Hans Zimmer's Time every year, and have a reflective moment of silence for life in general.
yeah, it can be. Hopefully, there's ways you can take some of the memories and capsule them in something to help remind you, because yeah, things fade in your mind, especially as you get older. I get that same feeling looking at my daughter right now. Like I get that same feeling of like thinking about her growing up and stuff, and just even thinking about the future. It's like weird to think about getting that existentialness you're talking about. Um,
Right.
hoping to be around to see all that. Is
Mm.
an existential thought that's always goes across my mind nowadays. So, but
And
that's
it's
great,
all,
man.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the birthday was usually celebratory time. I rewatched. I usually do a movie marathon, but I didn't get to do that this year. I mostly just rewatched Cool Hand Luke, and then the next day I watched Paul Schrader's Hardcore, in preparation for the podcast, but also because I wanted to watch it in general. But we will get into that, because that is
yeah.
one of the announcements of many that we have this week. But before we get to those, we did have a guest interview for you here to listen to. And who is that, Steven?
Well, here on Spy Number 104, we had the guy behind, really the main guy behind Golden Ninja Video, Justin Decloux. He I loved talking to him. He was he's got such a great upbeat personality. And what's you know Golden Ninja Video is about as micro budget of a label as you can get. and it shows in just how the presentation of the discs that the releases they put out. There's like I was telling them, I was like, I love the like little things like the handmade booklets, the writing. He literally writes the number, the limited edition number, this out of this many copies out of this many copies by hand, all by him. And so them little touches like that, I think, make Golden Ninja Video just a really like interesting, charming label. And they do it, and he puts out a lot of things that are very regional and very micro budget that you would never see anywhere else.
Right.
And
he's a one-man band.
Yeah,
he's a one-man band, and I think it was a tagline on their website of what's the website title? GoldenNinjaVideo.com. Yeah, very simple. Kind of the criterion of public domain, I think, was kind of his thing. And in a way, that's very, very true. He takes kind of like these movies that are very much in the public domain and probably would not see the light of day in any physical media form of any quality, let alone a public domain quality, and he puts them on Blu-ray. And it's obviously it's films that he likes. You know what I mean? That's also another thing. Like, it's films that he has seen. And when it comes to special features, a lot of them are done himself. Like, the commentaries are with him and someone else from his podcast, and stuff like that. So it's very much a homegrown thing. It's how like people say, like, people start their companies in a garage or something, or it's a garage band or something like that. This is very much that type of style, but for Blu-rays and movies. Yeah.
He's just a super passionate guy about film. He, of course, does his popular podcast, The Important Cinemas Club. Yeah, I mean, it was a great conversation, and had a lot of fun with that. And so you guys, please, hope you guys have fun with it. So relax your ears, get you some Doritos. Don't crunch too loud because you won't be able to hear anything. But please relax and listen to our conversation with Justin Decloux. And joining us this week on the podcast, we have a filmmaker, podcaster, author. He does a slew of things. I probably can't even. I got to get it all in one breath. It is Justin Decloux. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How about you guys?
Oh, fantastic, man.
Doing good. Doing well.
We appreciate you. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
We like to start realistic on the podcast. It's
it's terrible. I'm terrible.
Do you ever get that where someone just asks you, how you're doing? And you're like, what answers do I give them? You got to like pause and think, like, do I tell them like the real truth or just like the general truth?
Yeah, I always feel bad because I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I wish I could be like, oh, it's going good. Like, try to focus on the positive because that's all they want to hear, so you can keep moving with the conversation.
Yeah. Very true. Life is such a mixed bag that it's like, ask me in an hour and it may be better than it is now. Who really knows?
I do have a problem with that in person, though, because I do that in person. In person, somebody asks me how I'm doing. I'm like, it could be better.
Yeah, I'm like, it's okay. It's usually what I say.
And then if they hang around, I might tell them more. But it becomes depressing, so I try to get away from them.
Yeah, what has been my go-to line is when it's not going so well is that I've seen better days. Sounds a little poetic, and maybe catches them off guard.
Do you sing it?
I don't. I don't.
All right.
That'd be really funny if you did.
I've seen better days. Yeah.
The only time it'll be like, I'm doing great, is if like the person bursts through your window as you're watching something or reading a book, and you're like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing very fine right now.
Yeah,
but the thing is I don't find myself saying things like that. Like, I don't find myself saying I'm fabulous, like, because like, it just doesn't feel genuine. Like, I'm not. I mean, maybe it's because I am kind of a pessimistic kind of person, but like, but honestly, like, it's like I don't ever feel solid about saying like, man, I'm doing great. Like, I don't know why.
Yeah, you always have to leave you got to leave a little bit of realistic expectations when it comes to life. You know what I mean?
Yes. But do we need to think that much about a greeting? Or,
the question is literally an automatic, like, just give me an answer. Okay, we have acknowledged this and we need to keep moving.
We just got to move on. Like, how do I get to the next phase of this?
Whatever will get you, let me move on with my life.
Right. Whatever gets you out of my way.
No. But, Justin, it is good to have you here. And as I said at the top, you're involved in a lot of things. One of the big things, of course, is you're on a podcast and you do a podcast. the Important Cinema Club podcast. Please explain what that is and how that got started.
The Important Cinema Club podcast was a podcast that I started with my pal Will Sloan. Originally, my intent was to let's talk serious movies, like movies that I had other podcasts before. Like I did a screening series called the Laser Blast Film Society, and that was more like cult and genre stuff. And I was like, oh, me and Will, we're just going to start off and we're going to talk about like serious things, like Jerry Lewis was our first episode. And I quickly realized, talking to Will, who I was friendly with, but we weren't like super friends, that like we basically like the same things. So like martial arts films, horror films, like our tastes are very omnivorous. And so it just became everything, like anything that we're interested in talking about. Oh, you want to do an episode on William Dafoe? Sure, why not? How about mostly porn director Radley Metzger? Oh, that's cool too. Or this forgotten French filmmaker. Yeah, let's do an episode on that. So that's what the Important Cinema Club is.
I love that, man. It's that takes a lot of dedication, because I mean, even if you have an awareness of something like that that's maybe a little bit off the beaten path, you still got to do some homework, I'm sure.
Yeah, so basically the way that we go into it is, and we kind of found this rhythm as we started, that like we're going to get 25 minutes out of a topic. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more. It's usually longer if we're like nervous about what we're going to talk about, which is because we watch more than, I think we usually try to do 3 movies a week, and then each, and then we try to do the same ones, and then we can talk about those specific movies. And we don't go super in depth, because a lot of the topics that we talk about, we want it to be like, I don't know what this is, give me a breakdown, what's important about it, why you like it. Because if we did like 2-hour episodes, it's like I feel like it would be alienating to some people, even though that we always get emails being like, oh, I wish you went more in depth. And it's like, that's not what we really do. And it's also just kind of the flow of our conversation, and just doing it with Will, I found it just went that long when we talk about a subject like that.
Yeah, I think you gotta there's like a trial run with a podcast, and you gotta figure out what's the best rhythm for you, and if it's just you, or if you're with a partner. There is we had the same thing. I think we went through different variations of what we do here, and then eventually got into a rhythm of, we didn't talk about every physical media release, but we picked the things that we felt the most interested in,
So I have another podcast called the Bay Street Video Podcast, where I do it with a guy named Mark Hansen, who's a product manager at a video store in Toronto, Canada. And for about 60 episodes, we went through every release every week, because Mark knows them all, because he has to. He's ordering them. And it would be like, okay, what's this one? It's this. It's a World War II drama. Oh, my God. Okay, next one. And eventually, I think Mark or we both reached it together of like, how about we just pick the ones we really want to talk about?
Yeah,
and that's what the podcast is now.
Yeah. You get to a point where, I mean, like we do, we don't have like that, the years to say that we've seen a lot of everything that comes out, like, and of course nobody's seen everything, but it's like, we do like to put in the effort of like watching some of the stuff before we talk about it. So that's our week leading up to an episode. It's more, it keeps us more motivated and more interested in doing the podcast, that they're kind of picking the things that we're interested in, instead of just, trying to talk about something that we don't know anything about.
Yeah, it keeps you invested, and it keeps you like motivated to,
Explore.
keep up with the podcast, really, to put work into the podcast, because, there've probably been many, many podcasts, YouTube channels, whatever the case may be, where people, do it for a while and they just lose the momentum, lose the inspiration, lose all the energy for it. So you have to find ways in which to keep you engaged with what you're doing, because you can lose that motivation so fast.
Yeah, you need those like specific goals of like, oh, these are movies I can handle. Like, I'm interested in this, so I will watch this so we can talk about it. I mean, I don't know how, like, speaking of like physical media YouTube channels, that they go through everything and like talk about it. And like, even just reading the back, I was like, oh, my attention would just, it's too much. It's like too overwhelming. It's like, I need, when I talk about stuff, I have a YouTube channel too, is like, I don't really like to be negative either. Like, if I do a review, it'll probably be of something positive, because I don't want to sit and talk about negatively about something.
Yeah, you're picking the things that you like, and you're trying to spread that love of that thing, and we hope for that with ours, but it doesn't always end up that way. We don't choose the physical media releases that come out, and sometimes, we have to be like, we got to be honest too. We got to be like,
Oh yeah, you have to.
This wasn't for us, you know.
Would
like
you guys get a lot of comp copies in the mail?
Oh no, well we don't. We the only label that we've kind of made connections with in that way is Imprint. They've been really cool about.
Oh really? I
yeah,
need that
yeah.
Imprint hookup. I would like that.
Imprint's awesome, man. They've been sending us review copies and stuff. But other than that, we haven't. Honestly, what we do is not a lot about like getting the Blu-ray releases and reviewing them. It's about when they're announced. We talk about the announcement. So it's. We're getting to the movies before they're even out to anybody anyway. So we're having to do the hard work of finding ways to watch these movies, which is not always great versions or complete versions and we do our best, but sometimes, but it's about everything's about the films at the core.
It is,
anyway,
I mean, obviously that extra stuff is just appreciated whenever it comes along. You know what I mean?
Features and all that stuff.
Yeah, that extra, like recently, we got to interview the general manager at Umbrella Entertainment. And we were able, and he was very gracious enough to let us get some stuff from Umbrella.
Yeah, we were able.
Sweet.
Yeah. Anytime that happens, they were like, I almost
we
told them no.
Yeah, we welcome it. Yeah, I'll say this: we welcome it, but we don't ask for it. You know?
Oh, I ask for it, and no one will give it to me because I know people in Toronto who reviewed films 15 years ago, and they still get like 25 Blu-rays a week just because they're on a list, and they just get them sent, and they're like, "Yeah, I just sell them," and I'm like, "Oh my god, like I want to be on these lists."
I know, right? That's cool, man.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that used to happen a lot. I mean, if you've been listening or been collecting long enough, you do see a lot of people who, at one point you had to become a big enough presence, and then those things would happen.
Would come
you know
to
what I mean?
Because
if you had
value in that.
millions of viewers on YouTube or whatever the case may be, those things I guess kind of came along. But you know what I mean? It's interesting just because we're reviewing them kind of before they've even been released.
We're not really. I mean, we're not reviewing with their podcast.
The movies.
We're reviewing them. We're in
the
a
movies,
sense,
like
talking about the movies, not the releases. And I think, but that's what we're trying to do is keep in people's minds that when you're deciding to spend your money, think about the movies.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily about all the fun things around that. We love physical media. We love that whole the packaging and all that stuff. But really, let's think about the movies. And that's what we're trying to get at. And, with labels, I didn't say it at the top, but I don't know why I didn't say it at the top. You have your own Blu-ray label.
I do.
Golden Ninja Video, man.
Perhaps that may be why I'm here.
Could be.
But please tell us about why you with all the other things that you got going on, you finally you decided to create a label.
Well, I always wanted kind of like a DVD or a Blu-ray label, and it's actually not. I wanted to do something that would give context to stuff that never had context.
Yeah.
So like I love, special editions and stuff like that. I love like Blu-rays that allow you to kind of jump into this world that the movie is kind of part of, and then kind of like point you in the direction of, oh, do you want more of this? Do you want like more in this universe? And like it's specifically for things that like maybe you'd see on forums. People know everything about these movies, but no one had really dedicated like a disc to. And so like it was impossible for me to imagine like reaching out to someone and being like, oh, could I have the rights to this? I will pay you, because I didn't have the money. Like, I think when I started it, I was working at maybe the Canadian Screen Awards, like the Canadian Oscars, or maybe not a call center. My call center was the job before that. So not a lot of money, almost minimum wage. And the way that we went about it was I told Will, like, hey, how about we do movies that are like in the public domain? So like Roger Corman movies, Three Stooges shorts, because there's a bunch of them in the public domain, and we'll do big special editions around them of like commentaries, featurettes, where it's actually I found that like the French do this a lot on their DVDs, which is you just have someone sit and like talk for 20 to 30 minutes about the film. And like I was doing that, and I was like, oh whoa, the French do that too. Like I saw this months later, and so I started doing that, and it really only for the people that listen to my podcast. Like that was the audience. Like I didn't go out or like send promo copies or anything like that. And eventually it got big enough, and I could reach out to someone, an actor that I know who's also a director. And I said, hey, could I put your movie out? Do you still have the rights to it? And he went, yeah, you can. And that was Flesh Freaks. And that was the first one that I did. And then I think the next movie I did after that was with Matt Farley. and Charlie Roxburgh. Oh, it was only Matt Farley. Yeah, his movie Local Legends.
Yeah.
And so I did a special edition of that too. And that one was fun because Matt Farley and Charlie Roxburgh, his directing partner, they have a whole universe of films.
Yeah.
So like that disc allowed me to like, oh, let me introduce you to these guys. And I've released a bunch of their films since then. And then a lot of them I just kind of cold call email and say like, hey, this is the deal I make you. I give you like a percentage of the profit. You will not be paid that often because it like when I hit a certain mark, that's when I send you the money, but I will pay you right from the get-go. So like that first month, you will get the money from, you know, whatever I make that first month, and you get, I give them like $1 amount with each disc sold. It's not a percentage. I don't like cut stuff out of like, oh, I did a lot of advertising, which is how like distributors get you. I heard from all the filmmakers I talked to, also myself, because I worked with a distributor that was like, oh, we didn't do anything for a year. Too many expenses, no money for you. And so, yeah, so it was kind of split between that of like, I was doing kind of public domain, and then I was doing films that, you know, I was working with the directors, putting them out, very inspired by Alpha Video, which is not a, I don't know if you've ever seen an Alpha Video DVD. They do like tons of public domain stuff, the worst quality DVDs. Like you like crack them open. I have nothing against burn, but they're like burns. Not only do they look bad, like they don't maximize the space at the bottom, so it looks like, you know, half of a thing, but like the stamp on the image is like really bad too, where it's like it doesn't even cover the whole like front circle. But they also, I found out, released some new movies too. So I was like, oh, I'm like an Alpha Video, but like the deluxe version of Alpha Video. And I should say Alpha Video puts out stuff too that like you can't get anywhere else. So they also have value. And eventually I did a crowdfunding thing for to do a scan of the negative of Matt Farley and Charlie Roxburgh's film Freaky Farley. And as part of that, I wanted to raise some money as well for, oh, you have it right there. I wanted to raise some money as well to do some other scans. And my Patreon blew up because I was offering things that had gone out of print, and I got enough money for a scanner. And the scanner is my nemesis. I hate it so much, but I have it, and I've scanned a bunch of films on it. It's as complicated as I thought it was going to be when I got it. And yeah, so since then I've been getting prints off of all sorts of places, eBay, archives, and I tell them like, listen, I'm going to scan these. I'm going to release them on Blu-ray. Is it okay? Like whatever your fee is, I don't pull anything over wool at anybody's eyes. And they're like, yeah, sure, do it. Most of them are like Taiwanese films that have fallen into like the public domain place. It's like multiple YouTube channels have them. Maybe there's been a DVD that's been put out, and that's like the world that I live in. I also do limited editions for my own sanity, because like if I have too many releases, I'm like, this is too much. I can't. I'm actually at the level that I have too many, like on my shelf right now, where I have the ones that I can go out. It's like I got like 20 still in stock. It's too much. I wish it was less. But I also don't want these movies to just disappear. That would be not good. And it's also for the like the public domain ones that I don't want someone, if someone's like, oh, I have a new release of this, I was like, okay, no, I don't want to put it out anymore. Then that happened with Creature of the Black Lake, because Synapse put it out on Blu-ray, and that was one that's like was in that gray market. Like if you looked online, there were like a bunch of DVD companies that put it out, and so it's like, oh no, I'm done. Synapse, no, I don't want to put that out anymore. So, but yeah, so I do scans now, and I work with filmmakers to release their new film. So that's basically what Gold Ninja Video is now.
Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, I'd heard about you for a while, and I had not partaked. And you know, the one thing was, and you can probably answer this better for me, is like, you know, I did try looking for your stuff in other retailers, but you guys don't share them with other retailers. It's just all direct.
Yeah, because it's so limited that I've sent stuff to Diabolic DVD and Strange Attractor buy stuff. And Bay Street Video in Toronto, because I just give them to it directly. Wholesale prices are tough because I don't really make that much.
Gotcha,
so it's like I can give you like $2 off of the main. And when I started, there was more retailers that were reaching out, and it was like I was losing money, especially the ones that I do with other filmmakers, because like originally the Blu-rays I was giving out were like $10. Like I felt bad, raised more than $10. And it's a little bit, it's more now. It's like $20 because I do new scans. But no other retailers, and I can understand that you're like, what is this website? Are they legit?
Well, no, that doesn't bother me. I like buying direct. But you know, you just, you know, I shop at Orbit DVD a lot, and it's partially because it's in my state. you know, and they're a big retailer. So I'm thinking about shipping costs and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, shipping's a big issue because people look at it and they're like, it's not free, and it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, like I don't pick the prices.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of just going on based off of what the post office says or whoever the carrier is.
It actually, if you go, because my website through Shopify, it actually gives you like tons of options of like what you can ship. And they used to have untracked ground shipping, and there were so many issues. I had to take it away because it's like, it was only like $1 or $2 less, but like everyone was like, hey, can I have the secret tracking number that you have? And it's like, I don't have one. Like if you didn't pick it, I don't have it.
I don't exist. Can't give you what I don't have.
I think also, everybody wants tracking. I mean, you're gonna have to pay for it.
That's why the only option I have is tracking, because it just got so many emails like that. I still have untracked international shipping. But I used to have ground international shipping. I don't even know why they offer this. It takes 60 to 90 days.
Jesus
and I think
Christ.
that people would they would just click it because it's a cheap. I would probably do that. And then they'd be like, "What? I haven't got my package." And I was like, "Yeah, you pick ground shipping. That's gone." I had to remove that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because I do want to mention to our audience that you are located in Canada.
Toronto, Canada. Yep.
So for us here in the US, it would be considered international shipping, which of course is an extra cost and then time. Of course,
the time is not as big of a deal, but it's just the extra.
I just want to make people aware, just in case they
order more than one, and it's kind of the same price, because it's like one, and then you can probably add 2 more, and I think it's the same price at that point.
Yeah, I had ordered three of your.
No, thank you. I very much appreciate that.
Oh no, of course. And I'm definitely going to order more because I'm very much interested in Matt Farley, the Matt Farley universe. So I'm probably going to go and get the rest of the Matt Farley stuff.
Oh, great!
I did get the Freaky Farley, which I thought was really fun. Halloween movie. You know, about a peeping Tom that gets into a lot of it's so
really hard to explain, isn't it?
It is.
It's a peeping Tom. Oh, is it a slasher? Not really, but
no. And then I did get this one, the Duel on the River. I'm a Spielberg fan, and of course, it being kind of like on the water duel, I was like, I got to get it. And this, I watched this one already. And this particular movie, what I love is that it's very much like something I would have. I mean, I've made some movies. It's just something that's very super low budget. And
no budget.
No budget. Yeah.
I think he said it cost $2,000 and like $1,500. No, probably $1,700 of that was for the casing for the camera, because they actually shot on the water. Like when they're having conversations, they're shooting from boats and stuff like that. Like
and that's what I loved about it, was because it was so ambitious for such a no budget movie. I'm like, man, they really went for it with no money. Like.
As the director says in the special features, he's like, we just didn't think about it. And it's like, that's the only way you can make a movie
because
like
they
that.
just wanted to make the movie they wanted to make. And I thought that was really endearing. So I really enjoyed this. And then the last one, which I haven't gotten a chance to watch all the way through yet. That's what happens when you have a baby. Skip Tracer, which I hear is really great.
Big fan of Skip Tracer. That was one of those ones I would always see it on like top 10 Canadian film lists, because Canadian film is a big passion of mine, especially the way that it's, for the longest time. Thank you, Canadian International Pictures. You're doing a lot of work there, but completely underrepresented. Like no one was putting them out. They were unavailable anywhere. And Skip Tracer was one that I just reached out to the director because we played a 35 millimeter print of his film many years ago, and he sent us the print. He was like, "You can have it. I don't need it." And I was like, I wonder who owns the rights to this. And I emailed him, and he said, "Yeah, you can release it. No problem." And I was like, "Sweet." So that's how that came about. It was that easy to just be like, "Hey, can I release your film? Is the deal I have?" And oftentimes the people will be like, "Yeah, no one's ever asked." So I'm like, "Yes." So I'm really happy to put that one out.
Yeah. I've watched about maybe like half of it, and it's been really interesting so far. And
very Paul Schrader-esque.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, definitely. And of course, with Golden Ninja Video, you've also put out a couple of your own films on your label. You directed 2 films. You got the Teddy Bomb, and your second film was Impossible Horror. So to tell us about them 2 films.
Sure. Those were kind of grandfathered into Golden Ninja Video. They came out before the label existed, but they go on the site. Because if you get the spines and you're like, it's not numbered, it's like, yeah, well, it wasn't officially a Golden Ninja Video movie. So Teddy Bomb, that's like kind of my El Mariachi bad taste movie, which is very energetic and splattery. And it's about a young man who accidentally finds a little teddy bear that talks, and it's a bomb, and it's going to go off in I don't remember how many hours. And there's a bunch of people.
Come on, man! You made the movie.
No. Yes, a long time ago, 2014, I think, is when it was released. And so he's chased by a bunch of people, most of them in balaclavas. So it's the same 3 guys that get killed over and over again, and they get murdered in splattery ways. There's martial arts. It's the kind of movie that I like, and so I made it. It's
awesome, man.
And Impossible Horror, that was my movie where I'm like, all right, I like
serious.
Japanese horror. I'm gonna challenge myself. None of that energy of Teddy Bomb. Let's calm down. Boy, that lasts like 30 minutes before I'm like, I'm moving the camera again. That film, the plot is about a young woman who can't sleep, and she hears a mysterious scream one night outside of her apartment building, and she goes to investigate it, and she finds out that the scream is happening every night. And she meets another woman who is also searching, what is the source of the scream? And it leads to all sorts of fun with creativity, what it means to be an artist, the challenges of being an artist, also people melting, and martial arts fights that come out of nowhere in that classic Japanese film tradition.
It all sounds like it goes together. Really interesting.
Tubi.com. Check it out. Impossible Horror.
I'm definitely going to. When it comes to, did you? I know you do a lot of your own features for a lot of these discs. Did you do some features for your own?
Oh yeah. So I think Impossible Horror has there's a 30-minute making of that my partner Emily Milling shot. I think there's deleted scenes. There's everything that I would want to put on that. That's the only Blu-ray in Golden Ninja Video. It's a DVD 50 because they are so temperamental, and I had no idea what I was doing at the time. So there's a lot of stuff on there because it fits all of that data. Teddy Bomb has, I think, 10 commentary tracks, and they're all fun. I promise you that. And I don't expect you to sit there and watch the movie. I expect you to do what I do, which is I rip them on my computer, turn them into MP3s, and I listen to them that way. So
yeah.
And so there's I do the editions that I always wanted to. Teddy Bomb had a wild one where I don't know if you ever saw like South Korean special editions where they were very fancy. They would come with all this stuff. So I made like a Teddy Bomb special edition that came in like a wooden box, and that had like a prop from the movie and the soundtrack and a bootleg version of the film that had the temp audio with some other commentary that was only on the bootleg version because it was a rough cut, stuff like that. Yeah, I love Blu-rays and physical media.
Dude, you're doing the stuff that like it makes me think of our conversation with Eric Wilkinson over at MVD. He was talking about how much he very much puts as much of his like passion of like what he grew up with in the video stores and all that.
I love those like MVD releases so much. I had all of them, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy them all. And then I know against probably his will, like it became kind of like an MGM catalog reissue thing, and even said like we can't do special features for some of these movies. And it's like it's the deal we have with MGM. And I was like, no. I have like 1 to like 25 of MVD because I love them so much.
I feel like that you both have that same kind of like passion, that energy for the
And I guess that's as good a segue as ever to where that passion and energy kind of came from. I guess kind of what we usually do here on the podcast, going back into your roots and go back to the origins of your love of movies. I guess that's as good a time as ever to transition into that. So where did it all start for you? Did it start at that early young age where I think it started for many of us?
Oh yeah, definitely young. I can pinpoint exactly when I got obsessed with movies. I always liked movies. There was, I was actually one of those kids that was like, anytime we went to the theater with my parents, it was always a big deal. I would get very nervous and I would like have to pee. That's like the memory I have of like being a 5-year-old being like, this is a big event. We're at the movies. I don't know what's going to happen. Always nervous that like, if my parents will like it, like, why am I invested in this? I'm like 4 or 5 years old. And it was when I saw George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. The way my dad would work when we go to the video stores, he'd go, you have all the time in the world. And after 5 minutes, he's like, you haven't picked anything yet? Let's go. And I'm like, And he's like, oh, Dawn of the Dead. That's a good one. Pick that one, Justin. And I was like, okay. And I watched it and I was like, wow, now this is a movie. I don't know what it clicked in me. I mean, I love that movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. But like, I remember going online being like, I need to know more about this. And so like from there, my kind of love of movies built. And like I would see more and more. And I went through all the same phases. Everybody at a certain age, at a certain time, like Tarantino, Rodriguez, all those kind of like, 90s, like in your face filmmakers. And then it just kind of expanded. I got a love for Hong Kong cinema is another one of my loves. And I think it's just because of like the intensity and the in-your-faceness of it is something that attracted me to it, that I'm someone that reacts very like viscerally to visceral cinema. And I think that Hong Kong is like the place that like gives it to you that hard. So I remember as a teenager, I'd always be looking for Hong Kong movies, any opportunity, watching everything that I can, trying to get that rush. And eventually, it moves on. I go to college, I discover all sorts of film. I think one of my Achilles heels is I like too much stuff. That sounds like I'm at a job interview and it's like I work too hard, but in truth, it's like if I only like a couple things, I think my life would be much easier. My collection would be much smaller too. But it's like, oh, I gotta get this, and I love this, and I love this, and I want to watch this, and this, and this, and this, and and it kind of went from there.
Yeah, it's a problem with all of us. I like too many things.
Oh, absolutely.
It keeps me buying things, and
it really does. I mean, I may or may not be looking at things now while we're recording. That's how much
it's all around. It's always all around him. He's got stuff sitting behind him.
That is also very true. But even like I'm always multitasking, but in the back of my mind, it's like I want to be shopping for movies. You know what I mean? Not even like shopping to buy, shopping just to look.
And make lists.
And to see what you can find. It's that adventure, it's the energy of the hunt. You know what I mean? I used to do that all the time in, going to brick and mortar stores, spending my Saturday nights by myself looking at used DVDs.
Used Blu-rays, flipping through them, being like,
going through the dusty shelves. And just finding what you can find. And like that art of it all is kind of going away, I think, depending on where you live. I know it's not in the case for everyone, but at least from my perspective, most of the places I used to go to, either the selection is completely gone or the stores themselves are completely gone. I bring this up all the time. And I bring it up all the time because it wasn't that long ago where I was doing that. Like within the last decade, it seemed like within the last decade, there's just a massive shift in terms of how you can buy movies and how you can buy entertainment has shifted online greatly. And I think things have just been exacerbated even more over the last few years, given the conditions of the world that we live in. So it's just, I kind of I feel nostalgic for that because I want to get that same energy again.
Oh man, I want to feel that nostalgia. There's still so many stores in Toronto, like huge Blu-ray store. We have like a chain called BMV, and there's like 3 or 4 of them in the city, and they all have used DVDs and Blu-rays. And because I do that podcast at Bay Street Video, like the co-host is like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And you get them at cost, man. And like he doesn't push them on me because the store doesn't make any money if they're giving to me at cost. But it's like, ooh, I wouldn't have heard of that otherwise. Like a lot of that, like going through all the new stuff.
I also, just like I like seeing it in person. That's also like a big thing.
Your hand and being like,
Well, the thing is, I'm a person who is at the store. Like, if there's multiple copies of something, I want the best one, the one that's in the best condition.
Even the movies?
Yeah, just like because sometimes some stores do not know how to handle their movies. They just they must throw them around or shake the boxes they come in or whatever the case may be. Because I've seen that many and many a time where discs are loose, packaging is torn, packaging is wrinkled, packaging is broken. I've seen that so many times over the years, and it's like, damn, I should have inspected this a lot more closely before I bought it. So that's me, the ultimate inspector to find the perfect copy all the time.
I'm like, give me the beat up copy, please. Just because if it's cheaper, like if there's like 3 used books, I'm like, one of these is probably has a lower price because it has like a ding corner or something like that.
If that was the case. If that was the case in most, when buying physical media, I mean, Orbit DVD does do like a discounted on dinged things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
they'll tell you, hey, this is damaged. And sometimes they'll post pictures of like,
they'll post pictures of
busted corner or torn package or something like that. That's another thing. If you are going to like sell damaged things online, show it.
Yeah, you got to show it. I mean, where do you guys stand on slip covers? Pro? Nay?
We like them. I like them a lot, but
I don't like the culture that's formed around them.
I don't know. I was gonna say,
That's
but
a little different.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
pro them because I want when I buy something, I want it in its original form, like how it first came, like first edition, first pressing,
They look
first
so
whatever.
nice.
And some of them look fantastic.
Yeah.
And they had a little extra to it.
And they made Vinegar Syndrome what they are today. Like when they started doing slipcovers, like they blew up.
Because not all slipcovers are made equal too, in terms of quality of just the material.
No,
The Vinegar Syndrome, first time I got my first Vinegar Syndrome release, I was blown away by just the thickness of it and just the material being
Isn't
such
it
high
so
quality.
funny that we're like, it's so thick?
Yeah, I know.
Like, what difference
Damn.
does it make? But it's true.
It's
like,
the little details that matter.
but and I agree. It's the culture around it is a little bit toxic, and like we've said, we like to keep the focus on the movies. But
yeah,
once we get past the focus of the movie, we do like all the bells and whistles, and it's all nice. I will say, I want to bring this up about Golden Ninja Videos packaging.
Yeah.
What I really like about what you guys do with yours is it's like, I would say it's almost like a homemade thing. Like it's like, I also like that the numbering it looks like it's handwritten on here.
Oh, it is handwritten by me.
Yeah, by you. Yeah, I love that.
It's all. I mean, it is homemade. So I get the covers that I design myself, much to my chagrin, because I don't like designing stuff. And I get them printed at a shop near here. I get them, I cut them myself, and then I put them in. And the little booklet, I printed it here. I cut it myself, put it together, stapled it myself, put it all. Yeah, it's all homemade.
I love that. I mean, like, and that's the thing is like, look, we get all excited about Second Sight, and every release they have, it's got like a hardback book.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. That's lovely. And we get excited about it.
Oh, this is so amazing. I can't wait until I'll get to it at some point. Ooh, what else is new?
It's great. Yeah. It sits over there and it looks nice and everything. But there's something about the fact that you're basically, it's a one-man show and you did something and put this together, and it's a fun, there are movies that you won't find anywhere. And you know that there was a person with passion behind this that did all this work. And I love that. I'll take this honestly, over a Second Sight edition any day. If the movies, some people might be like, Steven, you're
crazy. No,
you're crazy. You're bullshit. But honestly, I like, we talk to so many people in this show, and I want to invest in the people that have the passion that I can see, and then like, are showing me something that I would never find anywhere. And
I will say that it's 1/3 of the price of a Second Sight set, so there's that.
It's also way vastly cheaper, but
I mean, the benefit of this podcast, and I'm not just saying because I'm on this podcast and part of it, is that we do get to see the people behind the making of a lot of the products that people are buying, or people are at least aware that exist, and we're seeing how much effort that goes into it, how much energy and passion that goes into it, and I think that helps inform people that they're not just buying a product, they're buying kind of a labor of love, a labor of effort. And I think that does impact the way people buy. Specifically, certain collectors will maybe think more about that. Like if they're trying to decide between two releases and they know more personal attachment to something, to another, to one versus the other, they may go for the first one, and it happens.
I'm someone who, like, if I see certain names that do commentaries, I'm like, oh man, I gotta get this. Like, I'm a huge David Decloux commentary head, David Delvale, who's a pal of his. Like, if I see their name on it, I'm like, yeah. Like, I just picked up, even though it's a good movie that I haven't seen in a long time, Paul Bartel's. I have it right sitting in front of me here. Spare Parts. And I was like, I
gotta buy that. I gotta buy that.
And I was like, oh man, David Decloux, David Delvale commentary. I love those guys. All right, I'm getting it.
Did that just release? Because I gotta get that. Yeah.
Yes, it's a Scream Factory release.
Yeah. I gotta get that.
Yeah. So
I love that movie. Yeah.
And that's another one that, like, I go when I do my podcast at Bay Street and I look at the shelf of what's coming out and I was like, I want this and this. So and that allows me also to talk about stuff. But yeah, it's passion of, like, you follow those people. And for me, Golden Ninja Video, like, I'm in almost every video featurette and commentary, and that's just because, like, not because it's like, oh, it's all about me, but it's more like I'm here and I can give you the context about these things. And so, like, it is kind of my face. I would never call it like Justin Decloux presents, even though that I believe that the White Zombie one kind of says that more as a joke than anything. I think we have two little logos. Me and Will Sloan's face are in it. But it's just like it. I'm there because I'm the only person who will do it, and I like sharing.
I was going to say it takes money to hire people to do all of them features. I mean, it's not a
it's not cheap.
Thing.
And like when I have somebody else on, I pay them because I want them to, unless they're a friend and I'm like strong arming them into doing it. But like I've had people like and I consider them friends, like Dylan Chung, who does stuff for like 88 Films.
We just talked to him.
Oh yeah, I love Dylan Chung, and he's a guy that like I was like, please let me pay you for your. He's like, oh no, and it's like, no, you did the work, like, it's only fair that because I'm turning around and making money off of this thing, so it's like, and that's a thing that I don't know if every label does that kind of stuff because it's like, oh, we do it for the passion of it, and I think it's important that like as well people that participate, they get paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, there is different levels to different labels. I mean, obviously comparing yourself to a Criterion or, they got so much more funding behind them in the sense of like,
funding here.
Yeah. It's like you can only get certain types of movies. You're not going to be able to go get RoboCop or like, like it's not possible.
And I wouldn't even really want to put it out if I could, because it's like, why? There's a million versions of RoboCop.
Exactly.
What would I do with it?
There's it's like, how can you make like how can you make a better edition than that already exists?
But also it's not what I mean. His passion lies in showing us something that we might not find.
Showing us things that we haven't seen. And that's interesting.
If I could do a featurette on RoboCop ripoffs, I'd be like, oh yeah, there's something I can do.
And that's what is interesting about Golden Ninja Video is that you are kind of unearthing things that people probably aren't aware exist, let alone. All popular.
I mean, the fact that this movie here is, I mean, it's essentially some kid's backyard movie. Like, it's like, nobody would have put this out. Like, it's not.
No one would have put it out. That was discovered thanks to my pal, Peter Kaplowski, good friend of mine. And we also used to run Laser Blast Film Society together, is that he is a programmer at Midnight Madness at Toronto National Film Festival. And so sometimes he gets sent stuff of like other programmers or sometimes directly to Midnight Madness. And he'll be like, Justin, you got to see this. And that was one of those. And because he knows that like, no one's going to put this out. It's too cheap. But like as someone, and you've made feature films, you send them to film festivals and I've heard stuff like, it's a little cheap. Like, I don't know if we can like put this out there and like charge people for it. And then I will sit there at the film festival and watch just the most boring, dreary, passionless films. And it's like, but it's slick. So, we can play it that way. And so that's the way I approach these movies is that like, but they're so much fun. Like, wouldn't you rather have something fun than another 80s slasher film that you're like, I've never heard of this. And you're like, oh, that's why I haven't heard of it because it's not very good.
Now, I guess one of the more, I mean, kind of going the opposite way of what I was just saying, White Zombie is probably more well known because of the Bela Lugosi tie, because it's tied to classic horror film and all that kind of stuff. What made you what's the gestation of like wanting to put that out other than being a fan of the movie?
My pal Will Sloan, he loves White Zombie, and he's like, can we do White Zombie? And I was like, why would we do White Zombie? Like, there's so many versions of White Zombie. There's like the Roan Group, the Kino release, like every bootleg company or gray market company under the sun has put out White Zombie because it is in the public domain. And then he got a 60 millimeter print, and he was like, what if we did a 60 millimeter scan? And I was like, I like that. Cause like, I like the idea of watching a 60 millimeter print of something of like, when you were a kid and you would see these like, movies maybe like projected at like the library or something. And you're like, oh, there's something like, weird and otherworldly of that. And like White Zombie, that's the perfect mood for it. So I did not think anyone would be interested in this. That like when we did it, I was like, this is a really important Cinema Club only project. Like the super fans will want it. I was even like, maybe I'll do like 300 copies of it. Like, I don't think I'm going to give any more than that. And also we shot like where we play like horror hosts that will like interrupt if you want. You don't have to watch it that way. And I thought like that would be our main selling point of like, oh, well, we shot horror host material for it. But like when I put it out there and I put out some stills, like people are like, we love this. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm genuinely shocked by this, that like people are that interested in it.
Yeah. I mean, the choice to do a film like, I mean, like you guys will go anywhere. I mean, you're doing. Is there any other films that you have? I mean, you probably can't tell us exactly ones, but like, is there any other films that are of this kind of like prestige of having prestigious people in it that you are working on also?
Nothing we're working on. We would love to do Detour. If anybody has like a 16mm print of Detour or any, I think Detour's any PRC, that's Producers Releasing Corporation, Edgar G. Ulmer film, I would love to do that. Like that would be the tops. There was a guy named Wade Williams. I don't know if you've ever heard about him before. That he basically claimed ownership on all of those public domain films. He's like, I own them, all the Ed Wood movies, everything, they're mine. No one else can release them, even though they were clearly in the public domain and that nobody had claimed copyright on. He recently passed away. And I think that all these movies are suddenly like slowly coming out. Like we have a 35mm print of Ed Wood's not last film, but Bride of the Monster. And we're going to be scanning that and putting that out. And I announced this months ago. But due to some issues of White Zombie and King of the Bullet coming out, I haven't been able to tackle it in the way that I want. And even before that, there's another movie called Phantom Kung Fu that I've scanned. It's ready to go, but I have to finish these two before I put those out. I don't know how companies like Mondo Macaboro, they announce like 5 ahead and they all have different shipping dates, because I just received so many emails from people being like, wait, but where's my thing? And like, I can only imagine that they have a million emails like that perhaps an intern answers, but for this, it's me that I have to reply to them and be like, I'm sorry, it's coming.
It's probably Jared Ainer over there. He's probably the one that's doing. I believe he does a lot of that stuff.
No,
he's
really?
Probably, I think so.
Maybe they have an automated email but I try to like write a personal one. Like sorry, it's taking a little bit longer than I thought.
Yeah, it's easier to do a social media post saying, "Sorry, everyone, we're working on it," or something like that. Or it is in the works, but we have to push it another month or something like that. Or we're doing this, and this. I mean, we see that all the time. And these things happen. I mean, there's so many technical steps that go into the making of all of these on so many different levels, and it must be really, really tough to kind of stay on any type of schedule.
Yeah,
and then you don't want to rush anything, because that's when mistakes are made and. Mistakes always get found out.
Yeah, I mean, even a company like Criterion, like their Citizen Kane 4K that didn't have color correction for like half of the movie.
Yeah,
and I still have that edition because their return policy was wild. Like if I had to recall I don't know what I would do, because I could not afford to send out discs to everybody. Like,
you got it. I mean, I think for you're probably kind of looking for maybe some films that are already kind of in there. You don't have to do too much touch up on them.
The prints basically, I say like I color correct them, because every print I've scanned that's not in black and white was beat red. So colorist went over and made it look all nice. And I did play around with like, maybe I could do some scratch removal. No, I'm not touching that. Like it's so complicated and so much can go wrong. Like I'd rather there be a scratch and like somebody's face be deformed digitally because like a program was trying to fix it or I was trying to do it that way.
Well, that is part of the as part of the overall charm of a public domain aesthetic, really, is the imperfections of it all.
Oh yeah,
you feel like you're watching it on an old projector.
I love that idea. Absolutely. And that's what I say in my even on the back, it's like scanned from a 35mm print, no negative, no inner negative, sometimes well loved. I'll put, just because I don't want to trick
I noticed
people.
that. Yeah, I was actually wondering where you got your elements from, but it seems like you get them from wherever you can possibly.
Oh yeah, like that White Zombie print is a library print, so it's just like a library was getting rid of stuff, and somebody picked it up, and then he just sold it to us. So he's like, "What am I gonna do with a White Zombie print? Like, there's a million of these out in circulation. Like, it doesn't really have that much value." So we're like, "Yes, please," because what I'm doing is very specific and like not anyone else is trying to do that. And I can really only do it because I feel I have the Important Cinema Club. If it was just like, I'm just some guy doing this, they'd be like, why do I care? Like, no, I don't care. But thankfully I have hundreds of episodes where they're like, I like this Justin and Will, and I would like to hear them talk about these things. And that's how I was able to kind of build it up. Anyone who comes from other angles and have never listened to the podcast, I'm like, welcome. I don't know what brought you here, but thank you. I mean, now that I'm doing movies that are like, like the Iron Dragon Strikes Back, I scanned a 35mm print, and like that movie's great, and like you can find like kind of ugly looking versions, but the version we have on that Blu-ray like just has a texture and like it's in full 235:1, so it looks great too. And it's directed by a guy that I love. It stars Bruce Lee that me and Will love, so we could talk about him. Like, it's not hard for me to find passion points about these things and find reasons and things to talk about.
Yeah. And so with the important cinema, you also guys have branched out to doing some books too as well. I saw.
Oh yeah,
which is cool, man. I along with the books, talk about like how it's felt like the popularity of the podcast, how that all feels like, because we're a podcast that strives to be popular.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but no. How does it feel to feel like that you're reaching people and to the point of writing some books? Because I think when you write a book, when you go into getting into books, I think that's kind of a whole next step.
Well, the books were interesting because the first one that I wrote, Radioactive Dreams, the Cinema of Albert Pune, I don't even think the podcast was like that popular at the time. I did it as kind of a challenge because we were doing a screening of Radioactive Dreams on 35 millimeter, a film that still remains unavailable in any good looking version, much to my chagrin. And I set myself a challenge of, when the screening comes around, I would love to have something to sell. We did zines before, so I was like, I'll write a book. And it didn't like blow up, but I was able to watch every Albert Pune film and review them all, interview some people that he worked with, and I put it out there. And it's not like yes, it bought the house around me because I don't own this house. I'm renting this apartment that I live in. But a lot of people were like, wow, this is great, and they were able to discover it. And on the subject of people like being fans of the podcast, what I find surprising about that is that like, wow, people are interested in what we're saying, and that most importantly, we get a lot of emails of people saying like, oh, you kind of pushed me to kind of challenge myself and do different things and watch different things. And that's all I want to do with the podcast. Like that is the main goal.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. That's anytime somebody says you've inspired me to watch this or that. And, that's the main thing I'm looking for, is just that we've spread some knowledge. If we're knowledgeable enough to get people to look into something, and that they loved something that they never knew they were going to love before, then that's
because there's so many things. And I think that as like human beings, we do want to fall back into nostalgia and comfort.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, but you can also, because there's so much access to thing, I think we feel crushed by it as well, where it's like, oh, there's too many choices. I don't want to see something else. So all it takes is like one person to be like, well, that's very good. And if you kind of trust that person, you're like, well, I want to check that out. Like I know people that like, if they recommend something and I'm like, I have never heard about that, I will watch it that night when I go home, because I'm like, oh, I got to see this. Like, what is this?
Yeah, we started doing a kind of a spinoff show called The Unwatched Pile, and it's about us as collectors, because us as collectors, we love to blind buy, so now it's about us digging into our collections and pulling out movies we haven't watched yet, and giving ourselves a reason to then watch them and talk about them, and then pairing them with other things in our collection that we've already seen. Because I think one of the things I love about when I'm watching something new is like being like, this reminds me of another film I love, or like this must have been influenced by this, or like. And so, I mean, like, I think, just you got to find ways to keep your interest up when it comes to like your discovery of movies. And like you said, if you have friends and you have, you listen to your friends, like ask them like, hey, what have you been watching lately? Like, you can't be a lonely movie watcher. I think it's important.
There's no joy in that. I feel like when I would do screenings, like, just a bunch of friends in a apartment, it wasn't to be like, yes, I have great taste. It's more like, no, I just want to watch this with you. Like, I want to experience this with you. And I've shown films that like, they go like, I've shown films that like nobody likes them, and that's not fun, but we can still talk about it afterwards. You can't get like insulted by it. You're friends. And if you do it a lot, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. I've seen movies in like, I love the movie Perks of Being a Wallflower. I loved that movie. And I remember when it first came out, it was at like $1 or $2 cinema, like it's super cheap. And so when it came out and I loved it, I started taking everybody I knew to go see it. So like, I think I saw it like 6 times in the theater, just because like, I took my mom to see it. I took one of my friends to see it. I took my girlfriend to see, I took everybody to see it, but one at a time, just so I could see it again.
Nice.
And so, I mean, I think that's part of, it's like like a lot of things in our world, we're like the world's trying to make us more secluded.
Yeah,
like by making things
put you
more
in
convenient.
a lane. It's like, this is what you like, right? Don't look at anything else. We'll cater to this.
Yeah, and so I think it's important that we're communicating our likes and dislikes in an appropriate way. We don't have to be assholes.
No.
And but
what do you mean you haven't seen this?
Yeah,
How?
God, you're
Yeah,
stupid.
that is kind of that I think I've leaned way back on judging people for what they haven't seen, because like I've said this a million times on this podcast. I've always subscribed to the philosophy that movies are kind of everlasting, not everlasting, but they're always around.
They're always
like,
around.
They're always around. We have over a century worth of cinema, so you can always go to it no matter what year it came out. You can watch a movie from 1915 or a movie from 2023, and it's going to be there. You know what I mean? It's going to be there for any time you need to discover it, or you want to discover, or you just happen to fall upon it, and it's always there. It's just this timeline of just stuff that you can just dive into at any point, and there's no fault if you don't get to see a certain movie by a certain time. You know what I mean? There's no race when it comes to seeing movies. You can see them whenever. I mean, granted, their impact on you may be different depending on what part of your life that you're in. You know, that obviously comes into play, but I think that's more about you as a viewer than it is about the movie itself, because the movie is, what it is.
You're like, oh man, you got to watch Boondock Saints. It's like, oh, okay, still holds up, eh?
Yeah, maybe, I mean,
wait, are you 12 and it's 2001? No,
I find this a lot when it comes to movies that I saw as a child, and then I talk about them as an adult with people who saw them when they were an adult. Steven, didn't we talk about? No, I don't know if it was you, Steven, but it was somebody else who the Spielberg movie Hook seems to come up in that conversation all the time.
It is one, yeah.
Is that one of yours, Steven?
It is a movie that I think I watched a lot as a kid, but now that I've went back to it as an adult, I don't like it as much. Like it doesn't hit me.
Well, what I was talking about is someone who didn't see it as a child, as a kid, and then watched it as an adult and was like, "What are you talking about? Why do you like this movie, you crazy?"
Oh, I thought you were gonna be like, "I love it. This movie's great."
No. It's the opposite of that, where something that I grew up with, someone did not, and then they see it as an adult and don't have, I guess, that childlike wonder of it all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I've seen that a lot with other certain kind of
there is
coming of age films.
There is a thing too. There is a thing too where sometimes when you introduce something to somebody, you can't hype it up too much, or it's going to turn them off like almost automatically. Like I can't do that with my wife. Like with my wife, if I get too excited about a movie that I'm showing her, she's going to it's almost like doomed to fail with her. like I have to be like, this was pretty good. I don't know. You might like it.
Wait, so you use almost reverse psychology,
you have to,
like you would on a child.
Because
like
my wife,
I was talking to my friend, and he was talking about his daughter, who are like 17, 18. He has a younger one as well, and I was like, oh, she's into like manga and comics. You ever show your comics? And I was like, and he was like, no, I can't recommend anything, because if I do, she'll be like, no, thank you. But if I'm like, yeah, that one's pretty good, maybe, yeah, I don't know, then she'll be like, okay, maybe I'll read this.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to be sneaky. You can't make it like it's coming from you, that it's just something that's there, and that you should maybe you should check it out. Maybe you'll be into it.
I mean, this happens a lot. Oftentimes, I've seen memes about this. If it's something that you really, really love and you show it to somebody and they don't like it, the disappointment is like on a tragic level.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if I could talk to this person ever again. You know what I mean? That does come into play, but honestly, then again, you gotta move past it.
I mean, I
had not love Boondock Saints. How can they not?
Dude, this didn't end up being an issue, but with wife, I'm surprised we got married, because like my favorite movie of all time is LA Confidential. It's the one I always go to. I love that movie. And I remember me showing her that movie and her falling asleep. And I'm like thinking like, I'm not going to hold this against you, I guess. But I think I've always.
It's your honeymoon, and you're like slowly taking your ring off. Is this the end?
Like Confidential.
This is my chance to kill her now. No, but it's one of them things where it's just like, I have a hard time unless you're with other film buddies that are as enthusiastic as you. it's hard to introduce certain. You got to do it in a proper way to introduce movies to certain people.
I mean, as I've gotten deeper and deeper into my love of movies, I find myself being it's more difficult to talk with people who aren't as into movies as I am, because I almost feel like I can't relate to them
What?
because they're talking about things that I don't
And
care
then it
about.
makes, and then in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, man, I'm pretentious as fuck. Like,
I guess so. It's
you know?
like, do they know how great Seven Samurai is? You know, do they know?
Yeah.
And-
But,
yeah, it's stuff like that like when you're really into something, it doesn't even have to be movies. It could be anything. You kind of you feel at home within that realm.
Yeah,
And
someone could be talking to you about baseball, and you're like, "Huh? What?" There's periods in baseball, right? They're like, "Oh my god, this person doesn't know anything."
You don't know anything.
there's not.
I mean, I've always tried to be a bit of a Renaissance person, so I can at least be in on every conversation. But even then, it's like, well, where I feel most comfortable and most at home is, within movies, television, stuff like that, comic books. You know what I mean? And trying to kind of force yourself to be sociable can be difficult. You know what I mean? And then as you get older, you feel like you have less patience with trying to force things.
I recently found video games are a good entry, and I don't really play that many video games, but I got a Steam Deck, so I play that because it's very accessible and easy. And to be like, oh, what video games are you playing? And I have enough of a base for them to be like, oh, this or that, and I can ask questions based on that. So that is my entry now with strangers my own age.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I don't have one anymore.
Nobody.
Yeah,
leave me alone.
I don't listen to any of the new music. I don't listen to I'm totally out with like young people today. Like I have to try to get them on board with
young
me.
people today.
Young people today.
And see, I know I'm not that old, but I feel old. My job makes me age at least 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, you're 18 years old. So
I mean, but it's yeah, I mean, it can be difficult sometimes, but I hope that the younger film fans can be open-minded and continue to, and I think these labels do a good job of opening people's minds.
Oh yeah, like Vinegar Syndrome is tricking people into buying all sorts of films these days.
Of course they are. Yeah,
even their main label now, they're like, oh, how about 3 Polish films? And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, I know, of course, what they are, but I wonder people who like buy their like slasher films each time. They're like, I guess I'll get this. It's on the main Vinegar.
The whole partner labels is like they started doing partner labels. It's like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, I'm very curious about the partner labels. If like what their audiences are like, and like where people go like, oh, because they put a lot of challenging films, some of those labels, and are people like, well, I don't like this, and then they just like abandon that label, or they
I don't know.
I don't think back, I guess.
I don't think that's happened yet that I'm aware of.
I can only speak for myself. There are certain labels that you begin to trust more and more when it comes to the quality of their product, the quality of the film they're putting out, to where you end up kind of just almost instinctively buying every time a new one comes out. I mean, Canadian International Pictures, I think it was kind of something that grabbed me right away. And that really got me going very, very early, to the point where I'm like, I'm willing to put down the money for them because I'm so fascinated by just Canadian films in general. But the fact that these are films that really I don't think have seen the light of day, or that anyone really knows about.
Amityville Curse, please.
That was one of the more mainstream ones, and I was like, and that's like
that was one that they're like, listen, this one's gonna sell out, and then we can do like the Rainbow Boys, okay? Like that's
well, we talked with them, and that was right around when the Amityville Curse, I think, had come out, and it sold out almost immediately because it has that attachment to the Amityville series.
Well,
I think the commentary, Paul Korup is like, it's not very good.
It's not that good of a film, but people like love that series, I guess.
But I think what's good about part, even though there's like 1,000 of them, but each label does typically one release a month.
Yes.
So there's a lot of love put into the one release, and it's not so overwhelming if you're attached to one label.
Even though that like there's like weird kind of like, is Vinegar Syndrome like dictating some of this stuff? Because like Yellow Veil Pictures did a bunch of Polish movies that I thought Deaf Crocodile would have released. Because that's the kind of film that they would put out. Like
I think
there are. Yeah, and there's a
thing.
couple labels that, like, I mean, we saw TerraVision now go off and branch off and do their own thing. But when they were in there, we also had VHS Hitfest, who kind of does, or Shitfest as they like.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it's
we had
shit.
him on. He
I've never
endorsed
heard it called a hit fest. and I
Well,
was
yeah,
like,
he
yeah.
endorsed
remember
that.
saying it.
Shitfest, yeah.
We had him on and he endorsed that saying because we
The
asked him,
Shitfest,
is
yeah.
it supposed to be said like that or people just adopted that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's they're both essentially straight to video.
Yeah, well, Saturn's Core, Culture
Saturn's Core.
Shock. I
Yeah.
think there's a new VHS label that just came out, isn't there?
Well, I
that,
know
like-
that the newest one is the Film Desk is the newest label
Yeah.
that joined, and they're kind of seems to be kind of. It's only been one release, but I believe they're a little bit more. They've produced some films, so
Yeah,
very
like
much.
the film desk is like, listen, whatever lands on this desk will be out from this label.
Yeah, and so I think maybe we're getting to a point where maybe some of these labels might be. I don't want to say redundant, but
Closing doors, perhaps.
I know some of them are definitely more popular than others. I know that Fun City, they branched off, I think, because they were so popular.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what happened to Fun City. I thought they had left OCN, and then they're like, "Oh no, we're back." And
well,
like,
they are, but I think maybe they had deals worked out with a couple more releases.
I think there was a few more releases they had attached to the OCN.
Oh, so they have broken off, but there's a few more they're contractually obligated to complete.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, we had Justin Hertzberg on twice.
Times.
Yeah. And right around the time where they were branching off of OCN.
It was right before it was like completely officially announced.
It was just as Party Girl was announced.
Party Girl was announced, yeah.
I'm fascinated by all like the inner goings of like, how do those labels work? Like, how much do they get paid? Like,
yeah.
And I've heard things, but nothing concrete enough. So
and the thing is about them is that they all seem to be incredibly specifically passionate about what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they all are, and they're mostly like individuals that are working on it together. Even though that I get the feeling that their special features oftentimes are produced through Vinegar Syndrome, because there's a lot of names that are like Vinegar Syndrome names that show up on like partner label releases.
I think there is like a deal that's made that where you can do your own work if you want, but they have in-house people that
because I know like Michael Keane does a lot of that stuff. I don't know if you've spoken to him.
We haven't spoken to him, but I'm aware of him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of them things where I think they have in-house people, but if you want to go do your own work, you can go and do anything. And I think the main thing that gets used probably through Vinegar Syndrome, probably mostly is their art, like their slip covers.
Oh yeah, like their art person, and their slip covers, and their duplication, and their shipping, and all that stuff. So
yeah, it's got to look a certain way to be under the Vinegar Syndrome OCN.
Even though I will say that not just Vinegar Syndrome, all Blu-ray labels, they're a little expensive these days.
They are expensive
every week on my podcast.
Yeah, I mean pricing.
Where's the limit? I don't know if you guys have talked about this before. Of like,
no, I guess it all depends on the individual collector and how much financial stuff they've got. You know what their portfolio.
But I feel like
looks
there's a limit, right? Where people go, okay, I can't do this anymore, and it feels like it's almost there.
Well,
like,
I think everyone has their
limit,
specific price points. I know
they're
do.
so
for
good
years.
though. All these companies are putting stuff out that's so
The
good.
tough part. I didn't say
like if it was bad, they're like, hey, here's the movie, $50. I'd be like, screw you.
I didn't say it was easy.
I would say I mentioned him earlier, and I love him to death. Second Sight is a good example. Like their editions are amazing.
But I don't know if I have any Second Sight Blu-rays because they are very expensive.
That's what I was gonna say. They're amazing, and a lot of times it's one movie and it's like $60, $60 to $80 for like this 4K of.
I was of that where I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money for it. Then I got one of them, and I'm like, okay, this is. Like when they say deluxe limited, this is what they're talking about.
Yeah, I held that like Curse of the Demon in my hands, the big deluxe edition, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll get it later, regretting it instantly, being like, oh, I should have gotten it. I would have loved it so much.
Yeah,
it's
one of them things.
It's just one of them. Yeah, and I mean, we always say this, like, don't everyone collects in their own specific way. Everybody collects, based off of their preferences and all that kind of stuff. Like I was just saying, I have a certain price point value when it comes to certain movies or editions or stuff like that, where I'm like, if I see a movie that's like there's no way this should be this price. I do that when I'm in stores all the time. I do
Yeah.
that when I'm on shopping on eBay, when I'm like, these prices
I
are
think of
ridiculous.
that every time I'm handing over my money and taking the Blu-rays.
There's got to be some standards. You got to have some limits.
I guess
and you gotta,
you do. And then, but then there's always that regret in the back of your mind. I've noticed this now that we've been doing this for so long.
Mm-hmm.
The boutique stuff, when it's limited and it
Don't
goes,
say that. It'll always
it
be
gets
there. You can always have it.
you can find it, but
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pay more for it now because
Yeah.
you can find it.
But because we're getting
some-
to that point,
yeah.
and I like to say it's like if everything is a special edition, nothing is, right? Like at a certain point.
It's true.
But then again, it's like the Vinegar Syndrome releases that were announced recently, like a 4K version of Boogeyman. Yes, please. I love the Boogeyman. Undefeatable, the Godfrey Ho film. Yeah, the other edition, Bloody Mary on it that only exists in a really crappy copy. Give it to me. Give it to me. It's like I can't say no because
Yeah.
like I love this stuff.
Yeah, I think Vinegar Syndrome's definitely has got the best marketing all around kind of like setup. Like,
Well, the
they're
reputation has
killing
been
it with-
around for like a decade. That also does help when it comes to reputation.
God,
for
I remember when they were doing crowdfunding for their Herschel Gordon Lewis set that they were doing.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's
yes,
early
this
on.
little company that's coming up, and now they're like dominant, built on slipcovers.
yeah, they have merch, huge merch.
Yeah.
Like they're always coming out with a new T-shirt design every month.
They're opening a store in Toronto, which the second or third
That's
store.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I see the Instagram of the archive up in near where you live, Andrew. I think it's
it's in Connecticut.
Yeah,
It's only what's it like 2.5 hours away from me.
yeah.
Every time I get a package from them, it's just I'm one state over, literally. So I'm like, this should come much faster than this, you know.
But it's yeah. I mean, it's as we're wrapping up, we do got to get what we're talking about labels. Like, what when it comes to your collecting habits? What are the ones you're typically the most passionate about collecting nowadays? Because I see your shelves back there. They're full.
Yeah, I recently cleaned them as well because they were overflowing and I had to put some stuff into storage. We're very well documented, so if I need to find them, I know what bin they're in and I can go. So I was never someone who was like, I want a complete collection of something.
Yeah.
Anytime if I walked into someone's house and they're like, I have every Criterion DVD, I'd be like slowly back away.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Wait a second.
oh my god, this person's gonna murder me. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, I think there's two that I try to buy everything. One of them is Visual Vengeance. I love Visual Vengeance. They do kind of like SOV movies. What was the first one that they did? Oh, they did like a Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder from Hell, the Japanese Evil Dead remake, in quotation marks. And they've done like SOV stuff. And like that's a guy, the person who runs that, who loves that. Like those are such amazing special editions. And they have like feelies in them too, which is something Severin does. I don't know if people know the term feely. It's back Infocom, the video game company. They had big boxes and you'd open them up and there'd be like 10 little like toys or things related to it. Like Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder came with like a little foam dumbbell. And I think the Necrophiles came with a condom that was labeled the Necrophiles. And it's like, don't use that. Like it is not a safe product. So I love those guys. And speaking of Vinegar Syndrome, at one point I decided, almost on a whim, like I'm gonna get every Video Syndrome archive release. So I have almost all of them.
Yeah.
And they're reaching a point though where I'm like, I don't know, like TV movies. Even though they're archive release, it's kind of like at first it started as like, listen, if we made a normal edition of this, we don't know if anybody would buy it. So it's in a nice fancy box. So you want this, guys? And it's like, yes, please. I want this box.
Yeah.
And
nice
so I have them all except for Vice Academy and Evil Town. I've seen Evil Town and I've seen some Vice Academy movies. I'm good. Like,
yeah. But
and other than that, I don't think I collect like anything that really interests me. I'll be like, ooh, if there's a commentary or there's featurettes, that's like, oh, somebody cared about this. And that like makes my attention kind of peak. I'm like looking right now. I'm going to pull, I have a stack here, a gigantic stack of stuff that like I want to watch that I've recently picked up. So I have like Radiance is doing really good work.
of course, yeah.
Culture Shock. I really like their releases as well. I have some Warner Archives, even though that Warner Archives, I wish they did special features because they do great things on the movies, but like some of the stuff I would like context around them, and I don't always get that. I mean, Severin has been killing it with their box sets.
Oh yeah,
and they do kind of like. I'm a little suspicious of oftentimes genre-based box sets because it's like, there's one good movie, and then you get some more. But like they're like Dance Macabre that was recently put out. I really enjoy that. I'm trying to look here. Is there any other like label stuff that really excites me? A Saturn's Core is one that I almost buy everything unless it's a wave movie. That's where I draw the line. Because I love all that SOV stuff, especially that oftentimes it's like a filmmaker that made 1-2 movies. So if you watch the movie, you feel like they're everything in it. And like the producers of those discs, like they understand that, and they'll often include like hour-long making of, where you almost get like reminiscence of the people and like the life they lived, and that's what I love. Like a Blu-ray that's like almost someone's life in a box. I don't mean that in like reductionist way, but just like that there's a story there, and that always interests me.
I think this was one of their releases. The Cellar, was that one of the Saturn's Core?
Maybe that was actually no. The Cellar was a Vinegar Syndrome release.
Is it was it straight up Vinegar Syndrome? Okay.
Yeah, because that was one that was shot on film. That was directed by the guy who made Witchboard.
Okay.
Yeah, did you see that one? That's the one with the kid, right?
I haven't seen that one. I did watch the. I mean, the Cellar was great. But I think I got a couple shot on video. I know I got a Saturn's Core release over there, and I'm trying to think of what it is.
Yeah, Saturn's Core is definitely like an acquired. That's the label that I keep waiting for people to go like, I don't want this because like it's so weird and different. But I'm like, give it to me, yes, please. Like, I'm trying to think of some ones. They released Duck the Carabine Massacre, which was the a Columbine film that came out like a year after Columbine happened, the massacre. And I was very moved by like that, watching it again. I remember I would go to like the video store and be like, no, thank you. But like watching it now and like everybody's reminiscing on it and it has that kind of weight of the time that's passed since it's been made. I find that very moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. I'm going to bring it up here. I'll figure out what I bought.
What did you buy, Steven?
Oh,
they did.
It's Sinister. That's what I bought. Was Sinister.
Oh, that's a really
Sinister.
fun one. That that director, they released 2 of his films, and he was doing like wild action stuff on VHS, which nobody does. And it's very impressive. It's something weird with Saturn's Core. Sometimes the directors go back and there's like a director's cut where they shot new footage. And I think Sinister is a case of one of those, and that's neat as long as the other version is included on the disc, which they usually are. So I love those Saturn's Core releases. I'll always read, and I very rarely know the stuff that they put out, but I'm like, yes, please. Speaking of used stuff, I was thinking about this when you were talking about it. My used kind of like, all right, this is enough, happened when I found a release of Savage Harvest. And I was like, yes, I've been looking for this forever. I can't believe I found this. And then I bought it. I went home and I went, I already have this DVD. Like, the hunt had built in my mind so much, I forgot that I had actually already gotten it.
That happens to me a lot when I'm out and I'm like, do I own this already? Have I bought it? When did I buy it? All that kind of stuff. And I do have certain things logged, but I don't log everything. And which is a bad. It's a bad. I like to log things after I've watched them. So if I have a Blu-ray and then I watch it, I log it. But if I buy a Blu-ray, I don't usually log it right away. So obviously, collectors, or who are listening probably know this as well. Is sometimes things will sit for years unwatched. You know what I mean? And you just don't have it logged in. So
you remember the hunt that you're like looking for that one title.
Yeah, and then you found it. Or sometimes this has happened to me too, where I've watched a movie and then years later I'll be like, watching this for the first time. And then no, I saw it, but it happened to be 6 years ago.
That I can look and be like, no, wait, I've seen this. I've reviewed this.
It's like, this looks very familiar. This is very.
I will say,
interesting.
A genre or a type of film that I will always buy is Taiwanese kind of like fantasy genre stuff. That when I started going into video, I was like, I can do this. No one is doing this. And now everyone is doing this. And I was like,
over the last, I would say 2-3 years, has been an explosion of just like that cinema, just all kinds of martial arts cinema from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Stuff from Hong Kong.
Yeah, the company's doing Jackie Chan films. I think that kind of like like blew up, and people are like, wait, people like martial arts, even though it's literally the most watched clips you can find on YouTube. And they've been going back to that. Something about new releases, though, is that like we're getting to the point that I look at Vinegar Syndrome and I go, I have a lot of these. Or like companies are just re-releasing movies again. And it's like, oh, I've reached the point where it's like, I don't need to. I've seen these and I own maybe a version of it. So I'm good.
Yeah.
So if that's arriving, it slims down the pool for me. So
we've also reached a point where different companies are putting out the same movie around the same time.
Yeah, Jackie Chan.
It's happening a lot with what we just talked about.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, for example, In the Line of Duty, the box that just came out from 88 Films here in the US.
I have all those Eureka titles.
Eureka had put them out back in January. And it's like...
same thing with Tiger Cage. Shout Factory just put out, and it's the same releases as were put out, or very similar. Yeah, that always confuses me because like I don't know what the direct market of Blu-ray is anymore. It feels like it's a collector's market, and that like not many people are walking into stores and going, oh yeah, sure, I'll grab this. But like people are ordering it, and if they really want it, they're like just importing them. But I guess they crunch the numbers, and that's not the case, which is I guess interesting. But
there is a lot of collectors out there that decide not to be region like open like for everything just to keep their buying in control.
That you know what? I salute them. That is something I cannot do though.
Yeah, same. I don't think I can do it especially if I know that there's a world outside of my world.
Well,
unknown treasures.
And honestly, for us in America, a lot of the editions outside of America are way better.
Oh, they're way better.
Yeah.
France, I speak French. France is amazing Blu-rays and DVDs. And I'm almost jealous of like, wow, I'm never going to get this. Like, I need this edition of this thing. It was, the best looking version of it. Like I'm sure Criterion is going to put it out at some point, but there was like the first woman post-World War II Japanese director. She had like a retrospective going around. No one's announced this yet, but it's released as a box set in France. So, what am I going to say? No. And like all these special features for me, they're in French. So I'm not going to get those.
Yeah. So it's overwhelming, as you said near the beginning. It's an overwhelming thing, but I think we all love it still.
Yeah, all you need to remember: Gold Ninja Video. You buy all those.
Just buy all those. Like, well, let's end there. I do want to end there. Like, if there's some Golden Ninja Video releases that you really want to recommend to people, please give people a list of ones they should go to your site and scoop up.
So I would recommend if you're interested in like regional filmmaking and like a wild, impossible to understand world with a very, you'll just be introduced to the continuity, get Matt Farley's Local Legends.
I'm ordering that soon, by the way.
Principally because Local Legends is a film about Matt Farley. He made a biopic about himself. And that sounds like very like, why? It's so good and it's so funny. And it will like, you'll be like, well, I got to see all these movies now. And also the songs that he writes, all 24,000 of them. But you'll learn about that more in the movie as well. If you like martial arts films, I would recommend picking up The Iron Dragon Strikes Back, the Bruce Lee film. I think it's a great movie. Everybody that watches it is like, wow, like how I'd never heard about this before. And it's just our love letter to Bruce Lee, one of the Bruceploitation actors. If you like kind of like comedy stuff, like indie comedy stuff, Dinosaurs in a Mining Facility is so funny. Like, speaking of movies that you would watch and you're like, no one will release this, but it's so funny. Like Dinosaurs in the Mining Facility. I think the director spent like 5+ years finishing this movie, taught himself visual effects, and he did a 2.5 hour making of documentary on the film that it's like, and it's like tight too, where it's like interviews have like pauses cut out of them. He spent almost as much time doing the documentary as he did on the film itself. It's on that Blu-ray. I think it's $15. So would recommend picking that one up. I'm just scrolling through here. Definitely Impossible Horror, because that's the film that I directed. One that I feel doesn't get enough attention, Sweet and Vicious Beauty, is a film that is a gothic slasher martial arts film. And I only discovered it because its director, I knew because he had action choreographed a film that I liked in the early 2000s. And I was looking like, what has he done lately? And I went on Amazon. I found his movie, watched it. And I was like, holy moly. Like, what? I've never heard, like, it's a period. Wow. It's also 2.5 hours long, like, but it doesn't feel long. It's just, the director's like, I just wanted to put no one's funding me, so I'm just doing all this. He like it's like set in like a period town that he shot at, like one of those Western. So much fun, and it's a great Blu-ray. The director went all out of like special features and things like that. So would recommend checking that one as well. And then once you get all of those, buy all of the rest that are in stock. I would very much appreciate it.
So he suggests everything.
Yeah, one of each.
Start with those ones that I just mentioned, and then you move to the rest. And then you'll be like, oh, I wish I could get these other ones. And I'm like, you got to buy all the new ones so you don't miss out on them after
Exactly.
Like I saw someone was selling Thrilling Bloody Sword for like $300 online.
Jesus
and I was
Christ.
like, I have a version in stock in the store right now. You just have to buy it as a 2-pack. Like, please don't spend that much money on that. It's not worth it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, that's fantastic, man. I'll definitely be grabbing some of that stuff you suggested there. And please tell everybody where else they could find you and reach out to you, and where they can find the podcast.
You can follow Golden Ninja Video on Twitter. My name, Decloux J, Decloux, letter J, on Twitter as well. Every week on the Important Cinema Club podcast. I'm going to go through all the podcasts I have now very quickly. I also have the Bay Street Video podcast, where we talk about all the notable Blu-rays and DVDs every week. No Such Thing as a Bad Movie, where me and a group of friends, we pick one bad movie and try to find good things to talk about it. And as well as when I recently started, the Very Fine Comic Book podcast, where we just pick a comic, me and my friend, we just talk about it in general. And we want it to be like an introductory thing to comic books. Like, you don't need to know anything. That's the whole point, that you listen to the podcast and it's like, oh, that sounds interesting. I will want to check that out. So you can find that as well, where all podcasts are found. And also follow me on Twitter. Film Trap is my name on Twitter, because that's filmtrap.com. It's kind of like the home to all that stuff.
Awesome, man. Well, Justin, thank you for staying up late with us. And,
thank you for having me. It's so much appreciated.
Of course. And, anytime you want to come back, man, let's do it again.
Oh, I'd love to. Just invite me. Obviously, I can talk. I have no issue with that.
We love it. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
And we're back. Oh, man. Andrew, are you still there?
We are back.
Okay.
We are back. We're back. Very animated, very passionate, very nice interview that we had with Justin Decloux. If you like we said, if you want to get into more of what he's all up to, go to goldenninjavideo.com. They are based in Canada, like we said, so there may be a little extra shipping costs and things like that, because it's technically international. Even though I think if you're in the US, you don't really think those things, but technically it's true. But a lot of passion. Passion.
But all right, let's do our thing, man. That thing we do. Blu-ray announcements. Where should we start?
Well, let's start with something you brought up right before the show, which I didn't even get to see, is some upcoming Mondo Macaboro releases, some re-releases, more accurately.
Yeah, there's some. I just wanted to inform people that there are some standard editions coming for their, I believe it was their June releases, and one in particular I kind of just wanted to talk about for a second, because when we initially talked about these releases, we didn't get a chance to talk about this movie because we hadn't seen it. But I got the limited edition of the movie The Fear, and had a chance to watch it recently, and I wanted to just update my thoughts on that. But not only The Fear, but The Broken Mirror and Ravishing Danny are all getting standard editions. So them are all coming out in August. But The Fear. So The Fear was a Greek film that is kind of about a family that's it's all set on a farm, a family farm, and it's really just it's a drama about some shady shit that starts going on. The son of the family is kind of a recluse. He kind of skulks around and kind of is a perv. He kind of watches all the women in the area, and then it starts to go downhill very quickly, where he sexually assaults one of the women on the farm, and then the family tries to hide it, and it's a really just dark and beautifully photographed film. Like, it's the atmosphere, the score is a highlight for me. I think that the score is really haunting. It's not like overbearing. It comes in and out, but when it shows up, it really like highlights the scenes really well. And the cinematography is black and white. It's beautiful, but a really, really kind of disturbing family drama on this farm. Loved it. It's a high recommend. High recommend.
I'm glad that it was good, because it caught my eye when we talked about it.
Yeah.
I think that was the episode where we had our buddies from Australia, the Indicator Cast, on. and we talked about a little bit about it, and it's kind of unavailability, really,
Yeah.
and things like that. So that's really cool to see. So those are coming out in August, and yeah, that's a quick turnaround to get a standard editions out. I feel like these were just announced the other day.
Yeah. It's well worth the pickup, guys. I don't know about Broken Mirror, and I don't know if you. I don't know. Didn't you watch one of these? Didn't you say you watched Broken
I
Mirror?
do not remember.
Well, that's easy to understand.
I
'Cause,
could probably look them up, but we don't have that kind of
but
time,
you
do
just
we?
go back to that episode.
Yeah, I guess
and
that's also
yeah,
true.
yeah, you find out that way. But
Moving
definitely,
on.
yeah, the fear. Grab it if you can. Next, let's quickly talk about. We have a Paramount Presents. Well, technically a couple that we could talk about here. I know they're it's not a Paramount Presents, but they are re-releasing Roman Holiday in 4K.
Yes, they
Paramount
are.
home video is doing so for the people that got the Paramount Presents one.
Me.
Yeah, me too.
Back when it came out in September of 2020, right in the midst of lockdowns and
Yeah,
in the things like that. They came out with Roman Holiday, Paramount Presents #9, and I had been waiting so many years for that movie to come out on Blu-ray, and it finally did, and I was so happy. I did a review here that's actually on our YouTube channel for that release. So that is actually up there if you're curious about how that looks. But this 4K release is essentially that release, but in 4K. And I'm pretty sure that that release already had a 4K restoration and things done for it. So they're just taking those
it just
elements and putting them in the proper 4K edition.
what they should have done the first fucking
What
time.
they should have done the first time. And Paramount has done this on a couple of occasions already, and I'm pretty sure this is not going to be. They're not going to stop here. It's not going to be
Yeah.
the only case. But that is coming out in August 15th, technically in line for the 70th anniversary of the movie. This movie is maybe my favorite Audrey Hepburn film. Directed by William Wyler, starring Gregory Peck, as well as Audrey Hepburn. It's one of my favorites. I can't say enough great things about it.
Yeah. But the actual Paramount Presents release that we got to talk about here is Hustle and Flow.
Yes.
From 2005. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. 2005. Starring Terrence Howard, Anthony Anderson, Tanya Manning.
Yeah, DJ Qualls is in the film as well.
Yeah.
This film is written and directed by Craig Brewer, who has done several movies, including the more recent Dolomite Is My Name, the Netflix film, and of course
Eddie Murphy movie. Yeah.
Yes, and he'd also directed Coming to America, the sequel.
Yeah, why did you have to bring that up?
Because it is a movie he directed.
It was a sad sequel. It upset me.
I didn't know that you were so sensitive towards it.
Well, I'm not, but it's just Coming to America is a all-time favorite comedy film for me. And then when they were finally like, we're going to make a sequel, and I'm like, I mean, that's cool, but and then they were like, it's going to be PG-13, and I'm like, and then it came out, and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, it was a big letdown for me.
A little underwhelming. I mean, it had all of. If you're going to do a legacy sequel like that, or a sequel of a movie that came out, oh goodness, 30-something years ago, close to 40, it gave you all of the homages that you could possibly want. They brought like every character back they possibly could, and then centered a relative plot around it. It's fine. I don't even know if that ended up getting any type of
I don't think
release.
It's got a physical release. It's on Amazon.
Yeah, it was an Amazon production, and Amazon productions are more dicey when it comes to getting physical media releases. For the most part, they have done some, but not everything.
No, we talked about the Tomorrow War with Chris McKay. He doesn't have a Blu-ray.
Still doesn't have one. And it's been years since that movie came out. But back to Hustle and Flow. I have always, I would dare say, loved this movie. Really? I have the Blu-ray in my collection. It's a really fantastic movie. For those of you who have not seen it, or maybe have heard about it, but I haven't watched it, it's set in Memphis, Tennessee, which I believe where Craig Brewer is from. And it's a movie about a DJ. He's also like a a pimp, really. He's like a DJ.
There's
a
no way
hustler,
getting
pimp
around
on
it.
the
He's a
side.
pimp.
There's no really getting way around it. And he wants to kind of produce music. Like, that's like his passion. That's his main thing. And he's trying to figure out a way to do that. And he's kind of, trying to figure that out. Anthony Anderson's a guy who kind of helps him. They bring in DJ Qualls' character, and they create that song. It's hard out here for a pimp, and that song won the Oscar at the song won the Oscar for like best original song. So technically, this is an Oscar award-winning film of
Whoa.
hustle and flow. And I'm pretty sure that song's been played a million times if people have heard it. Taryn Manning is in this film. Taraji P. Henson is in this film. It's produced by John Singleton. This is Paramount Presents Spy Number 41, if anybody is interested in keeping track with those. They make such beautiful slipcovers for these, but what is interesting about these Paramount Presents releases is, for the most part, a lot of them are rather expensive. Not expensive, but like, I feel like they're slightly too expensive for what they are. They tried to build these as like the definitive versions of these movies on, home media, and I'm like, we have a format that's actually better than this, and it's 4K. That would be probably the definitive version. And now they're starting to do it.
It is a 4K.
Yeah, but I meant like just the earlier Paramount Presents
Oh,
releases.
well, yeah.
And then they're finally realizing that 4K is the format they should probably be putting these in. And yeah, I would not pre-order this right now because it's sitting at like $44. I would wait a little bit. But this is coming out August 29th. And yeah, I really like this movie, so I would recommend the movie.
I don't think I've ever gotten around to this one. I sounds like something I would like, but
if you're a music fan, I think you'd really dig it.
Yeah. All right. I think you told me there was a couple 88 Films things that were out there to talk about.
88 Films things. So we've talked about these movies before. So this is not these are probably names you've heard before. There are what are the two movies that I talked about? There is
we have The Postman Fights Back.
Yes, The Postman Fights Back, and we've got Long Arm of the Law 1 and 2.
Yes.
Those are both slated to come out later this year. I'm pretty sure these were part of. Remember when they did like that
September 12th?
Yeah, they did that big 3-month reveal.
Yeah,
I think these were involved in all of those. I don't know why they're announcing them again, because we already know these are coming. Maybe they're just giving us more details on them.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just like you said, more details on what the features are. We got 2K restorations from the original camera negatives on both of these, I believe. Yep, both of these releases. And I mean, just you can go look up the details on Blu-ray.com. But yeah, we already talked about these technically. Moving on, let's talk about.
Yeah, let me talk about the Studio Canal release.
Okay.
Of Cross of Iron. So Cross of Iron is a film done by Sam Peckinpah in 1977. It is set during World War II and is actually set from the perspective of the retreating German troops that are coming back from Russia. So for those of you who don't know, Germany was fighting a war on two fronts, Western and Eastern fronts. In the Eastern front, obviously, Russia. They invaded Russia and they got all the way up to Stalingrad, where they got stopped and they were forced to retreat back west. And this movie is not so much about that. It's more about a specific troop of soldiers in the midst of all of that. You know what I mean? And this is coming out on July 31st, and it's getting both a steelbook release as well as a regular 4K release as well. Once upon a time, I think Studio Canal had put this out on Blu-ray in 2011, but now they're giving it, of course, a new restoration, so it's going to look better and all that kind of stuff. It's part of their Vintage Classics line as well, and it was released here by Kino, I believe, in 2018, if that's correct. No, I lied. It was put out by a company that I've never heard of before, called Hens's Tooth Video. No idea who that is.
Wow.
I don't know how they got their they put out movies like The Private Eyes, Trinity Twin Pack, which has They Call Me Trinity, and Trinity is still my name. 2 French films, I believe. The Ninth Configuration, they put that out. I think I've heard of that. They put that out in Canada actually, and here. Yeah, and they put out a movie called Flesh Gordon, not Flash Gordon, Flesh Gordon.
Flesh Gordon, yes.
And they put out a Blu-ray of Croupier, which is a film we've talked about seemingly many times. But back to The Cross of Iron. This movie stars James Coburn is in it. James Mason is in it. Those are a couple of names people will remember. So this is about kind of a a group of soldiers that are retreating, German soldiers, and they're led by James Coburn's character, and one of the soldiers in the group is I believe a kind of a Prussian aristocrat who is kind of there just for the glory and not really for anything else. He's not really a great soldier. So one time there's this fight that happens in which he takes all of the credit for it. And he wants to get awarded the Iron Cross for it. But the upper echelon people, the upper military people, like, need to confirm his heroic exploits that he is claiming. And James Coburn is one of the guys they go to ask him. And the James Coburn character doesn't like this guy. And it turns out that the guy actually didn't do anything heroic at all. He's just taking the credit. And so James Coburn's character will not confirm this, and it pisses the other guy off. And the other guy basically kind of screws with him because he doesn't tell this group of soldiers that they're supposed to be retreating, so they get caught behind enemy lines, and they have to fight their way back. And of course, James Coburn figures out that this guy screwed him over and is getting his men killed, wants to get revenge on him. That's the movie. It was, it's shot by Sam Peckinpah. Apparently, the movie cost tons of money to make, was over budget. It took Peckinpah so long to make the movie, because, of course, Peckinpah back in the 70s and when he was alive was dealing with alcoholism and drug use and stuff like that. So there were days where they were supposed to be filming and he obviously couldn't do it because of his condition didn't allow him to. And so that was a whole big issue of a lot of his productions back in the day, as well as this one. But I thought it was a really good film. It's like an anti-war film. It's gritty. It's violent. The action sequences I thought are well done, but they're like chaotic. So you're like in the midst of a chaotic war where there's just a lot of different cutting and stuff like that. So you're confused, but it puts you in the setting of what it's like to be in a war zone where you just can't get your bearings. You just can't figure it out. Really solid movie. I was very surprised at how many people have seen it on Letterboxd and how many people really, really liked it a lot, including myself. I thought it was really, really good. So that is Cross of Iron, starring, directed by Sam Peckinpah. Really good, really solid, like gritty war film from the 70s. So that's it from Studio Canal. Let's move someplace else.
Let's go over to Kino. We got a few releases from Kino.
We do,
starting with one that is a Region A release from a previous Indicator Region B. We got Paul Schrader's Hardcore, starring George C. Scott.
Yes, we do.
Tell us about that. I know you watched it.
I did see this. So, first of all, I would say this is one of, and this could be like depending on who you talk to, the best Paul Schrader directed film. I like to think Mishima, Life in 4 Chapters, is his best film, but this may be his second best film of his I've ever seen.
I don't know. A lot of people like that one with, what's his name? Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke. Yeah, I do like that one as well. I did just see his most recent film, Master Gardener, starring Joel Edgerton, and it's okay. I didn't think it was great. I kind of liked his previous film, The Card Counter, with Oscar Isaac a bit more. But all of his best films, I would say, are similar, because he loves the loner guys who are going through some type of stuff, some type of issue, some type of crisis, some type of stuff. Light Sleeper with Willem Dafoe is another great one, which is also put out by Indicator. Great film. And of course, he also did the movie American Gigolo, is another one of his, which is really good. But Hardcore is a movie starring George C. Scott, like Steven said. There was a limited edition put out by Indicator back in 2017 that went out of print in 2017. I think there was a standard edition put out in 2018, which you can still get your hands on. And the difference between the Indicator release and the Kino release is the special features. The Indicator release has more special features. It has an interview with Paul Schrader from The Guardian from 1993. But what is interesting is that interview is it's not like a video interview that you would watch. It is kind of used as a commentary that you listen to over while the movie plays, which I had never seen before. So that's very unique. There's also an interview with Michael Chapman, who is the DP of the movie, the cinematographer. He was also the DP of Taxi Driver and I think Raging Bull and a lot of other Scorsese type stuff. But the movie Hardcore is centered around George C. Scott's character, who's like he's from this very conservative area in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which this is kind of partially based off of Paul Schrader's real life, who grew up apparently in an ultra conservative family. He didn't. I'm guessing he, from what I heard, hadn't seen a movie until he became an adult. That's how ultra conservative religion we're talking about here.
Wow.
Yeah, like like conservative Calvinist denomination religion, and that's where the movie is set early on. What happens is George C. Scott's daughter goes on a trip to California on some type of religion retreat type of thing, and she disappears. She either gets captured or she runs away, or we're kind of up in the air as to what actually happened. And George C. Scott basically goes to California to try to track her down. This movie sounds a little similar to a Liam Neeson film called Taken. It sounds a little similar.
I will kill you. I will find you.
But come to find out, is she has become part of the adult entertainment industry of California, or most Los Angeles, but the hardcore seedy underbelly of adult entertainment. It's not quite the glitz and the glamour of, if you can call it glitz and the glamour of Boogie Nights. It's more the seedier, like underground, like the adult bookstore, the backroom stuff, snuff film type of stuff. Think of Joel Schumacher's 8mm, stuff like that. These two films are rather, comparable to one another, set in that same type of world. And George C. Scott is traversing this world to find and track down his daughter. There's a lot of wow stuff happening in this film, especially from George C. Scott's perspective of going from this bubble of this religion conservative Grand Rapids, Michigan, to a seedy, sexual underbelly of the adult entertainment world. And it's a shock to the system in many ways, but really well written, really well acted, good film. Highly recommend this movie. Really do. Like I said, the Kino release is different than the Indicator release. The Kino release has 2 exclusive commentaries, and that's all the special features it has. And the Indicator release doesn't have those commentaries. Actually, doesn't have a commentary at all, other than that interview that they use as a commentary on the releise. But well, that's Paul Schrader's Hardcore.
I'm definitely getting this because I didn't get that Indicator release, and I kind of, I like a good commentary. So if that other one doesn't have one, then I'll take this one. But
I would say either way, get this movie for a Paul Schrader fan. It's very similar to Taxi Driver in its vibe and its feeling. And George C. Scott plays kind of he's not like the Travis Bickle, but he gets brought down to like that Travis Bickle level of grittiness.
Yeah.
Really well done.
All right. Well, next on the list here from Kino, we have a film from 1969, 3 into 2 Won't Go. I don't know why I said it like that, but I guess I just felt like I needed to because the math just didn't add up. But it's a film from 1969, starring Rod Steiger from In the Heat of the Night, Claire Bloom, and it looks to be a movie I don't know nothing about. So do you anything know?
Yeah, it's a movie. I think we've talked about this when it was announced. And I think we're just getting some details on it now, like that it's coming out in August and that it's getting a brand new 2K master and they're getting a new audio commentary. This is a movie where I believe Rod Steiger's character and his wife are like this middle-aged couple, and I think he has an affair with he begins an affair with a 19-year-old hitchhiker He thinks he's in control of this philanderous situation until the free-spirited teenager insists upon moving in with him and his wife. As you can assume, that causes some complications.
Huh.
So that's what the movie's about.
It makes me think of that movie. What is it? From that Imprint put out with Jack Lemmon, the tiger.
Yeah, the tiger.
Shit.
I was gonna say the tiger one, but that's not it.
It's not the complete title.
Of course.
But yeah, he has Jack Lemmon in that movie is like having an affair with a younger woman in that movie. Now, of course, it didn't go the same way, but like he's having this like existential thing going on with him, and then but this, I like, I haven't seen, to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of Rod Steiger outside of In the Heat of the Night for me. So, this would be something I would be interested in watching. Sounds like an interesting scenario.
I'm still trying to find that Jack Lemmon movie.
It's like Save the Tiger.
I think it is Save the Tiger. Yeah, it's Save the Tiger, imprint number 171.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, some of the imprint titles are starting to sell out in pre-order form, which is always upsetting to me. Just a little. I'm like, these movies aren't even out
I think they have an allotment for retailers already out there, but it's from their site the pre-orders are going quickly on a lot of stuff. So
yeah, I just saw one the other day that's already down to like 18 titles, 18 copies left.
I mean, Imprint keeps their stuff pretty low. It's usually like
they're only
1,500.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, next what we have here is if you were wondering if there wasn't enough Death Wish to go around, well, there isn't, because we got up to number 5 here with Death Wish 5, The Face of Death from 1994, of course, starring Charles Bronson, because Kino puts out all the Charles Bronson. I don't know what to say. It's this image I got, the poster of this movie. He looks old, and he's still wishing death on people.
He's still a vigilante.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, as we know, so Death Wish is getting like all of the movies, I'm guessing right now, are getting re-releases in some way, shape, or form from everyone. I was telling Steven just earlier this year in January, we got Death Wish in 4K from Kino, and I'm pretty sure we got Death Wish 2 from Vinegar Syndrome as well. And
so
now we're getting Death Wish 5.
Where's 3 and 4?
3 and 4 from 3 is from 1985, and 4 is called The Crackdown.
Yes.
That's what it's called. So I know 2, 3, and 4. I know we're all part of Canon Films. I'm not sure if the 5th one was, because I don't know if Canon Films was still in existence in 1994. I'd have to do my research on that. Maybe it is a whole rights issue thing with Canon movies and whatnot. But yeah, the 4K of Death Wish 2 came out last May, so about a year ago. Holy crap. The time flies pretty fast. But yeah, I've never seen any of the Death Wish films past Death Wish 2. They're very repetitive, if you would say. It's Charles Bronson being a vigilante. That's the general premise.
That's it.
Being a badass.
But one that doesn't have 4 sequels is a film that funny enough, I remember watching this movie when it first came out, and I think the only reason was that maybe I either had a crush on Scarlett Johansson or I really love Bill Murray, and that was probably more what it was. I think I was I love Ghostbusters, and I saw Bill Murray was in this movie, and then I watched the movie and I was like, man, this is a really slow movie. I was like, I wasn't ready for this movie, and it's the Sofia Coppola film Lost in Translation from 2003.
Yeah, her second film.
Yeah.
This is probably a
was it Ghost World was their first movie?
No, The Virgin Suicides.
Oh, you're talking about Sofia Coppola. I was talking about Scarlett Johansson.
Oh no, Scarlett Johansson. She was in Home Alone 3.
Oh yeah.
Back in the late 90s, I would say.
Yeah.
And then she was in like Ghost World and stuff like that. And then of course she was in she was in Lost in Translation. But Lost in Translation is for many, I think people's favorites or most well-known Sofia Coppola film, her second film, really beautiful film. That's probably my first one I ever watched from
It
Sofia
was
Coppola.
definitely, yeah, and then I think somewhere along the line, Virgin Suicides, I got it on DVD at some point, and I watched that. And that one I definitely got because I had a crush on Kirsten Dunst.
Mm.
I still do.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
what is it? Yeah, it's very interesting. Us growing up and stuff like that. The actresses of our formative years, our
yeah.
teenage years, Scarlett Johansson, Kirsten Dunst, and all of those, we ended up having lifelong crushes on. I
I
guess
mean, it
celebrity
start for me.
crushes.
For me, it started with Jumanji. You know, she was in Jumanji, and
Very,
then
yeah,
she was also in Small Soldiers.
yeah, the Joe
And
Dante film.
it kept going, and then of course she became Mary Jane in Spider-Man, and then in between that, Virgin Suicides came out. I discovered that later, but
Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, this film, Lost in Translation, very kind of somber film. Like I said, I honestly I don't know that I've revisited it since I saw it that one time. But I know that it's worth a rewatch for me, and
yeah, it's a very
I'm sure
interesting.
I'll
I haven't seen it in years myself, but I
yeah.
remember it being incredibly impactful. I actually watched for the first time in college. I remember buying that on DVD because college is when I started collecting DVDs, circa like '06, '07, '08, that type of era, and I bought Lost in Translation around that time on DVD. I since upgraded to the Blu-ray, years later, and I think this needed a proper remastered Blu-ray release for a long time. So this is very, very welcome of a release. But talk about existentialism. This movie's very existential. Bill Murray is playing this guy who he's a kind of not he's an actor who is in is it Hong Kong or Tokyo?
Yeah.
And he's doing like wine commercials. Like that's where his career trajectory has kind of taken him, is in that direction to do commercials in foreign markets. And Scarlett Johansson's character, I believe, is there also on. She's there on vacation, like just waiting for her significant other to be done with doing some type of work or whatever. So she's not really doing anything. She's a lost soul. He's a lost soul. And I think they're staying in like the same hotel, and they cross paths and they start a relationship, a friendship, a connection with one another, and they just kind of mesh, and you just see them trying. It's kind of like two people crossing at the right time in their lives when they need someone, and that's kind of what the movie is. It's just that.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
think I remember at the time there being controversy about their relationship in the movie, being that
whether it's romantic or not.
yeah, she's so much younger than him, and
Mm,
I think that when you watch this is what I do remember about the movie is that it's very much more complicated than that. It's not
more complex, yes.
yeah, it's not necessary. It's not romantic, really. I mean, maybe if anything, maybe Bill Murray's character thinks there maybe is something there, but like that's how a lot of guys are when there's a pretty girl that talks to them. Even for an older man, like we still can think that way, like a young man, and But I think ultimately by the end of the movie, there's this sense of like you said, like you were there when I needed you. You were a person that came into my life at the right time, and I'm so glad that you were
Right.
here.
Yeah,
And that
and it was Tokyo. I was right. It was
yeah,
Tokyo. I Again, the movie is actually, I believe, it's not autobiographical, but there are elements of the film that I think Sofia Coppola put herself into, specifically the Scarlett Johansson character, specifically with the Scarlett Johansson's rel- uh, relationship with the Giovanni Ribisi character that we see in the film, and the Anna Faris character also shows up as well.
yeah.
It is actually, it's based on her
Wasn't
life
she with
experience.
Spike Jones? Was it she was with Spike
Yeah,
Jones?
the Giovanni Ribisi character is supposed to be Spike Jones, and I forget who the Anna Faris character is supposed to be, but it is based off of the real life relationship between the two. And yeah, it's very interesting, putting yourself as an author into the film and
Yeah,
basing things on loosely on your real life experiences and stuff like that. Yeah, Sofia Coppola is really one of my favorites. I've talked about her many, many times on here. Coincidentally, my local Comic Con, you know who's coming? Um, the movie Somewhere, which stars which is a movie of hers that I love that no one seems to love. The movie with Stephen Dorff and Elle Fanning. Stephen Dorff is actually coming to my local Comic-Con in November, and I'm
Nice.
thinking of having him sign my Somewhere Blu-ray because I don't think anybody would do that. I think everyone's just gonna bring their copies of Blade for him to sign. I don't think they would ever bring to Somewhere because no one talks about that movie from 2010 other than me. It's an appropriate movie that was because it's a movie about a father-daughter relationship, and it is Father's Day, coincidentally. But yeah, if you haven't seen the movie Somewhere, check it out. It's really fantastic. But yeah, I can't wait to get this to upgrade my Blu-ray copy.
And if we didn't mention it is a 4K, so
yes, it is a 4K.
Really high
So,
upgrade here.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how this looks.
But
So I think that's it for Kino.
Yep, that's it. Let's head over to. Do you want to do Severin?
Eureka? Oh,
Eureka,
okay.
Severin?
Severin's fine.
Okay, Severin. All right. Well, you I know you had. I think you have the last announcement that I couldn't find.
Yes, I do. Which coincidentally was their first announcement of the week. So Severin, as they do every year, is having their mid-year sale. It is on the horizon, but they've got some titles that they want to put out beforehand to get you all ready.
Yeah, tease you out before you get your.
Yeah, their summer sale, I believe, is like the last weekend of June or the last. But it's from June 30th to July 3rd. That's their summer sale this year. Whatever time frame that is, a couple of days, a week, I don't know. But that is coming up, and they've been marking down some stuff, like some bundles that they've been putting out recently. I think they're only going to be available up until, I would say, the start of this sale. Up until June 26th, some of the bundles of the recent ones, like the Dance of Macaboro and Drowning by Numbers bundle, the Extraterrestrial and Alien from the Abyss bundle, which is Steven's favorite, and the bundle with Attack Force Z and Violent Streets. All those three bundles are only going to be available until the 26th of June of 2023, and then they're going to go away. You'll still be able to get those titles, but probably not the extra swag that comes in them. And that's the whole thing. So the first title that they reveal from their summer sale is a movie unlike any other I've seen called Bad Biology. Man, here we go. How do I do this? So it's from the writer-director Frank Henenlotter, who did Frankenhooker, Brain Damage, and the Basket Case trilogy. You can understand where I'm going here now. This movie very much fits in line with all of those movies. This is a 4K UHD release, a 2-disc release, and good God, what a movie. So this is a movie. It takes the concept of hypersexuality and brings it to a level of wildness. There's these two characters in this film. One is a woman, one is a man, and they both are dealing with a sexual thing. The woman has an incredibly high sex drive, and the man has a penis that is sentient, meaning that it has a mind of his own, is essentially alive, and does whatever the heck it wants, and he's trying to control it. And the woman also, she has such a high sex drive that the people that she has sex with, she ends up killing them because they can't handle her heightened sexuality. So you would think the movie would be a commentary on like heightened sexuality and things like that. Now it just kind of plays it much more basic than that. You get some bladder gore effects, you get some grotesque gore effects in this film. By gore effects, I'm talking like bloody and weird things going on. You see a giant sentient penis that detaches and runs around and does whatever the heck it wants with people. Wild film. Wild gooey film with gooey effects. It's a wild movie. Gooey. I can't even. It's like a John Waters film on acid. It's like John Waters meets Trauma meets the movie Teeth when it comes to just the interesting sexuality stuff going on in that movie. Yeah, what a movie. A film.
I almost just because it sounds so fucking crazy, I want it, but it just
You can currently watch this for free on. I believe I saw it on the Internet Archive. So you can watch it on there if you want to.
I feel like I need to watch this first.
But I have to warn you, it may disturb the heck out of you if you're not into this. But in typical Severin fashion, you get tons of special features, including it looks like 2 commentaries, both with the director, and plus a bunch of other stuff. It is coming with a 96-page hardcover book, which I think is just mostly pictures and behind the scenes photos and stuff. The whole thing has like over 5 hours of special features. But yeah, what a movie.
All right. Yeah, you should just look at the pictures I'm seeing of the inside of it. It's wow. Okay. All right. Well,
And then
there's 3 other releases.
There's 3 other ways. So the second one is they're calling it the triumphant return of Severin Kids. Yes, Severin has a kids line, which I wasn't aware of.
Oh, we talked about it once. I brought it up once, and I believe
Yes.
it was for when we initially were going to. There was another release. Well, I think when Severin was going to put out Drop Dead Fred, I believe that was
Yes.
going to be on the line.
Yeah, I didn't know about the Severin Kids line until it was going to be the Drop Dead Fred, and then My Grandpa is a Vampire, I think
Yeah.
was their last like Severin Kids line release. In this movie, I don't know if it's going to grab kids' attention as much as maybe it thinks it is, but it is of it's of the movie Journey to the Center of the Earth, which you may be thinking to yourself,
It's not the
hey,
Brandon
that sounds
Fraser.
familiar.
No,
That's
it's
not
not
the
the
Brandon Fraser
Don't
film?
get fooled, people.
Don't get fooled now. This is a movie by the same director, Juan Piquer Simon, the writer-director of Extraterrestrial Visitors, also known
Oh,
as Pod
no.
People, Steven's
Oh,
favorite movie.
no.
I have to say, this movie is much better than that movie.
Oh, no. It's not like E.T. in the forest, is it?
No, it's not like E.T. in the
God damn it.
forest, but it is the story or adaptation of the Jules Verne story, and I found it to be a fun like 70s like fantasy adventure, low budgeted. So these people basically this professor and his daughter and this other and his daughter's boyfriend, I guess, they're gonna go to the center of the earth. That's basically the
Really?
story.
Oh, really?
There's this scientific theory that he's trying to prove about the center of the earth, and then he goes down there through Iceland, and he just discovers like all kind of stuff going on down there. It's not anything special in that. Some of the special effects are not great because it's the 1970s. They don't have a high budget. I believe this was I think this is a Spanish production. I believe
Really?
it is. Yeah, it's a fun adventure movie. There've been better adaptations of the story, of the Jules Verne story, and this one's one of the more okay ones, I would say. Some people on Letterboxd were a little harsh to it. I'm like, well, what were you really expecting? Come on. You can kind of watch it. Yeah, I believe you can watch this whole movie on YouTube right now and see for yourself. But it's not really anything remarkable, but it's fun. The other 2 ones I did not get to see, but they're 2 Jess Franco films. We've got The Inconfessible Orgies of Emmanuelle, and we have The Sexual Story of O, both Jess Franco films. As Severin has put out many of his films before, this should not be a surprise to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's, there's apparently not everybody likes the Jess Franco stuff. It seems to be up in the air whether people can be fans of this man. There are, if you are picking up a lot of the Blu-rays, it does look like there is a continuation of the Stephen Thrower stuff on Jess Franco. In the Land of Franco Part 8 and Part 9 are on both of these. So looks like you need to get this if you want to continue that series.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's how they get you. You have to continue on with that documentary series.
Yeah, so
about his work.
Yeah, can't say, like we said, can't say much about him. Haven't seen him, but Jess Franco fans, here you go. All right, well, moving on from Severin, let's go over to Eureka. We got 3 titles, and I think some really really cool ones. At least 2 of them that I know of. I haven't seen the third one here, but the 3 titles we got, and I know if you hear a high squeal, that's just Andrew out of excitement. Touch of Evil 4K from Eureka. Andrew,
Yes.
how you doing?
Doing good, doing interesting, because right before we were recording, I decided to kind of do a little compare and contrast to see what the difference was between the Kino 4K that we just got and this one. And there are a couple of differences. The Kino release, in Kino's usual fashion, has a couple of exclusive commentaries. And this one has a couple of exclusive um, uh, things on it as well, like interviews and such. It's got it's got video interview with critic Matthew Sweet, video interview with um critic Tim Roby. It's got an interview with Kim Newman, who seems to pop up everywhere these days. And it's got 4 commentaries, and these 4 commentaries are also on I believe they're all on the other release as well. Yes. The Schmidlin with actors Charlton Heston and Janet Leigh, with Schmidlin, critic FX Feeney, and Wells scholars James Narmore and Jonathan Rosenbaum. Those are all included on the Kino release, I believe. And the Kino release has some other commentaries that these don't have. But when it comes to the other features, Bringing Evil to Life, Evil Lost and Found, those 2 video pieces, those are both on the Kino release. But what this does have, which is really cool, 100-page book featuring writings by Orson Welles, Francois Truffaut, Andre Bazin, Terry Comito, interview excerpts with Welles himself, timeline of the film's history, 2 new essays. This is limited to 3,000 copies. Artwork by Tony Stella, whom we've had on the show.
Boom.
So beautiful artwork, really. The temptation to own this movie again for the 4th time is very high. Very high. I've owned the DVD, I've owned the Blu-ray from Universal, and I've owned the 4K now from Kino. So I don't know if I need to buy this for a 4th time. It's tempting, though.
Come
Highly
on.
tempting. Maybe, I don't know. I think I just want it for the extra features, really. The ones I don't get. But we do have another film here, Valley Girl, which is also we got a Blu-ray release here by Shout Factory / Screen Factory a couple of years ago. And Shout Select. What did I say? Screen Factory? Way off.
Yeah.
It's that post-birthday hazy hangover.
Glow. Yeah.
Yeah. The irony is that I don't. Yeah, it's not a hangover in the traditional sense. It's a hangover in the fatigue sense.
Yes.
So excuse me for my
It's okay. It's why I'm here.
Good.
Every once in a while,
that's why Steven's here.
Every once in a while, I'll catch you saying something wrong. Just every once in a while. Every once in a while.
So we got a new audio commentary, which is exclusive to this. We got a new interview with Deborah Foreman and a new interview with Colleen Camp. Those are new here. Everything else that's on this release is from the Shout Factory / Shout Select release from a couple of years ago. So you're not really missing much when it comes to that. Other than this is a 4K restoration, but this is just a Blu-ray release. This isn't a 4K, I don't think.
Yeah. No, it's just regular. Blu-ray.
And you've got it's a limited edition box. There's a collector's booklet featuring writings by Alexandra Heller Nicholas that may push people. If you don't own this movie already, like I don't have this movie, so I may be thinking into getting this release.
I don't know. I'm up in I have this movie. I do have the Shout Select release, but I
know you're a big Nick Cage guy.
I'm a big Nick Cage guy. I do like the packaging of this quite a bit.
I'm going to assume that this is Region B locked.
I'm sure it's Region B locked. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the 4K will be region free of the In Touch of Evil, but I'm pretty sure this is Region B locked. This is directed by Martha Coolidge. This came out in 1983, so this is celebrating its 40th anniversary.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. For those of you who haven't seen Touch of Evil, I don't know if I have to describe to you what that movie is, but maybe Valley Girl is a movie that is very nostalgic for a lot of people. And I didn't grow up with the movie. I only saw it like recently as an adult, so I don't have that same nostalgia with it. I know Kevin Smith loves this movie. Granted, he grew up during that time. Steven, how do you feel about the movie Valley Girl?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Well, you kind of
But
understand the general premise is like Nicolas Cage character, and then the female character that the movie is centered around are like they're from like different
yeah,
sides of the track, you know?
he's like a punk guy, and she's kind of a preppy girl. And it's just kind of like a big romance thing, you know. It just them going back in their lifestyles,
Yeah.
crisscrossing, and yeah, I mean it's
it's a Romeo and Juliet story, really.
yeah, you know, you could like throw like a Footloose type of thing in there. People always trying to pull them apart, kind of thing. I mean, for me, I watched it out of my love for Nicolas Cage, and I believe in his in the recent film he did. What's the one they did that was all about him? Massive Talent.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. If you just heard that crashing, that was all the movies that I moved to get my copy of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
It was a really quick jerk. You just knocked over everything.
Yeah, just knocked over like 5 movies.
But I believe in that movie, isn't the Nicolas Cage that he like envisions in his head, like talking to him, his character from this movie?
I think
from Valley Girl. Yeah,
I think it is.
Yeah, he's like always yelling at him, like, "You want to be a star? You know, you're Nick Cage." You know, like
it's either
yelling.
that or his character from Peggy Sue Got Married,
maybe,
which he has a very interesting voice that he chose for that role in Coppola's Peggy Sue Got Married, which does have a Blu-ray release. I actually need to get it eventually.
I need to get it too. It's one of the few Nick Cage movies I don't have. There's a few out there that don't really have good releases yet, or I just haven't gotten to them yet.
I've kind of, and right now I've reached that point once again. It's the same point I reached when it came from the transition from DVD to Blu-ray, is now the transition from Blu-ray to 4K, where I'm like, I can see the trend of movies getting re-released in 4K. Now I should wait if I don't have the
there
Blu-ray.
are some you should wait on, and some that I think you're okay with just going after what's there.
I wouldn't, but I will say this: I would not be surprised if we see a re-release of Peggy Sue Got Married, because it's a Coppola film, and because there seems to be a tendency to restoring all the Coppola work, you know, through American Zoetrope and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just feel like there's a legacy thing there.
I hope so. Yeah. But the last film from Eureka is a film called She Shoots Straight.
Yes, she does. And I have seen this movie.
Oh.
So I shall tell you about it. So She Shoots Straight is a Golden Harvest film. To no one's surprise, Eureka is putting out another Golden Harvest film, another action film from that area of the world. In 1990, so a little later than that 80s kind of window of Hong Kong action films. So this movie is kind of centered around a woman known as Mina. The movie starts off with her marriage to another. She's a police officer, and the person she's marrying is a police officer, portrayed by Tony Leung Ka-fai. Tony Leung Ka-fai is not the same Tony Leung that's in the movie In the Mood for Love. Different Tony Leung. Just wanted to make that distinction because I learned that. Basically, so she and him are both police officers, and apparently it's from a family dedicated to police officers, so it's like a legacy thing. So they got married, but they're also on a case to track down some gangster bad guys or whatever the case may be, the usual stuff. What happens is he ends up getting killed at one point, and she goes on a revenge spree to avenge his death. That's the premise. That's the general premise of the movie. Badass action in this movie. That's what you're here for. If you're here for that badass Hong Kong action, you're going to get it in this movie. Corey Wen is the director. He also directed the movie Yes, Madam. So if you've seen Yes, Madam with Michelle Yeoh, you kind of know the awesome action we're talking about here. I like the way they kind of describe it here. She Shoots Straight is another slice of top-tier Hong Kong action, newly restored in 2K, making its debut on Blu-ray. So that's good to know. It's got 2 audio commentaries. Frank Zhang, once again, Asian film expert, who seems to get the work for every single one of these releases. Regardless of who is putting these movies out, he's here once again. and you got another audio commentary by experts Mike Leader and Arnvern Venema. I'll say this. Eureka does excellent work when it comes to these releases, I think.
Oh yeah. They're always, careful and top notch about all their releases. It's one I definitely want to check out. I love a good Hong Kong action movie. Of course, I have every Jackie Chan thing that's come out, so I obviously, love that stuff. Excited, man. I'm excited about this. Is a good little batch here for
diverse too.
For their September stuff. Yeah,
it's like classic movie, Orson Welles. You've got 1980s kind of cultural touchstone film with Nick Cage, and then you've got 1990 Hong Kong action. Covering all your bases there, covering all your entertainment bases there.
Yes, I'm excited, man. All right. Well, now we're to our last slate, and that is the big one of the week. Criterion Collection has announced their September releases. We got some re-releases. We got some stuff being brought back, some new stuff. Let's start with the stuff that's being reissued in 4K. We got the Nicholas Roeg film, Walkabout. This is when I remember. I think I got this. It's way long ago. Australian film, of course. It's a film that definitely I think is warranting of a good 4K upgrade. A lot of course, shots of the outback of Australia. And this is one of them kind of like, young kids getting lost in the desert, and this indigenous man kind of helps them, make their walkabout in a way,
Yeah, they kind of accompany him on his walkabout.
Yeah.
They have their own walkabout,
yeah.
which is kind of surviving in this Australian outback. Talk about existentialism, literally having to fight to exist in that film. Nicholas Roeg, one of Nicholas Roeg's finest films. And this is, like Steven said, this came out a long time ago. This is spine. Which spine number is this? This is spine number 10. That tells you how long this movie's been in the collection.
Yeah,
it's spine number 10.
And I believe it had another release from another label not that long ago. I want to say.
Let me take a look.
Might have been a Studio Canal. Somebody like that put it out as well. Might have even been a 4K.
Oh, there is a 4K coming out. This one that we're talking about. There was one that came out in the UK in 2022. And there was one, I think that's the one we're talking about. It's Second Sight.
Second Sight. Yeah, that's it. That's right. Yep. Second Sight put out the 4K. This one I didn't get because I already had the Blu-ray for this. Same then I was like, it was just one of them things like, I liked the movie, but I wasn't like, I need to get that 4K.
Same special features as the Blu-ray and as its DVD counterpart at the time. 4K UHD. But we've got another 4K UHD upgrade, and this is of Rob Reiner's The Princess Bride. What do you think about? First of all, I know you like the movie. I like the movie. But I haven't met somebody who doesn't like this movie, and if I do, I just ignore them.
As you wish.
Have fun storming the castle. It's an interesting edition because that Blu-ray edition is so nice. It's like a digibook version. It's got that nice texture on it. I remember when it came out, there was such a nice fervor around it. Of course, you got those gatekeeping idiots who were upset that The Princess Bride was going to be in the Criterion Collection, even though it was already available on Laserdisc back in the 80s. So they're idiots. But yeah, it's now getting 4K UHD upgrade. I don't know if I have to rebuy it right away. Because
I don't know if I need to rebuy it at all. It's the same.
Okay. I feel you there.
I like the movie a lot, but that Blu-ray already looks fine enough. And I don't know that it's a movie that is like I say the Walkabout lends itself to getting a nice upgrade like this.
Because that's an older
aesthetically
edition.
It's also aesthetically a movie that I think really lends itself to a great upgrade. But Princess Bride, I don't know that I would say it's a movie that was shot in a way that I feel like it needs like a more premium look, to it. Like I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
what I was trying to say is that Walkabout, that Blu-ray came out in 2010 from Criterion. So that is like relatively early on in the Blu-ray game, really. And Criterion's output of Blu-ray, so that movie probably needed a remaster, needed an upgrade in its aesthetics and its audio and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this movie, the Princess Bride, came out. Oh,
3
like
years ago, 4
yeah,
years.
I wanna say right before, 2018, 5 years ago.
So it's not not a
That's not a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure, like, it already had, like, a proper restoration and stuff like that, like, it already
yeah.
had, yeah, I remember it came out the same month as Shampoo, Sisters, The Naked Prey, 8 Hours Don't Make a Day. Yeah, it had a new 4K digital transfer done at the time. So, this is not immediate, like, a necessary upgrade to buy right away. If you love the movie, of course, have at it, go
Yeah.
nuts. But it's not something I think that desperately needed a re-release, like, where the other one is so derelict. Um, but yeah, I love the movie, or like the movie a lot, more respectively. Looks like the Blu-ray is currently unavailable from their website, so that means that's out of print now? Kind of annoying.
Yeah, I don't
If you
know.
don't have a 4K player, you gotta have to buy the 4K release, whatever. Uh,
It could just be a temporary thing. Um,
Very true.
but next, this is another big one for you. I know.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
it's an Orson Welles week, my friend.
yeah, it is.
Just in time for my birthday. Damn
I
it, it's
know.
like they knew me.
They knew, man.
And I read an article today about the Magnificent Ambersons.
Yeah.
So it's been an Orson Welles weekend for me. Um,
I'm glad. I'm glad it's been a good birthday.
yeah,
But
so
yeah, the
leave it to
trial.
Orson. Yeah, the
Yeah.
trial is getting a 4K UHD release from Criterion now. We all know that because I went bananas over the Studio Canal release of the trial that they put
Yes,
out last year, I believe.
I have it. Yes.
Yes, Stephen has it. Um, that edition has more special features and different special features than this one. Therein lies the issue for, for
Therein
me and
lies
others.
the problem.
But this does have a new audio commentary with Joseph McBride. It's got a 1981 documentary about the film's production, an archival interview with Wells and Jean Moreau, and director of photography Edmund Richard. What the Studio Canal release has, off the top of my head, is it's got some lengthy documentary type special features about Orson Welles and his career. Specifically, the documentary "This Is Orson Welles." That's like 53 minutes long. Like that's a straight up special feature on that disc, and I think they have another lengthy uh, uh, documentary type thing on that Studio Canal release as well. So they're both coming, I think, from the same restoration and stuff like that. But this one does have the Criterion name, which automatically grabs people. Now,
It
for me, I
does.
kind of want both, but that's just me. Uh,
I mean, he's a favorite director of yours, so I
yes.
can understand the
Also,
need.
same thing when it comes to The Servant. It's the same situation.
Yeah.
Studio Canal put out that freaking gorgeous 4K release with all the special features, and then Criterion came out with their own, with lesser special features, but different special features. So now, as collectors, we're stuck as to which way we want to go, as that seems to be the case a lot. But for those of you who have not seen this movie, this is a wild movie based off of a Kafka book, and it's absolutely mind-boggling, dizzying acid trip of a movie. So it's based off of Franz Kafka's novel. It stars Anthony Perkins, has the bewildered office drone Joseph K, who's arrested for an unspecified crime, plunges him into a menacing bureaucratic labyrinth of guilt, corruption, and paranoia. And by paranoia, we're talking about the most insane trip you will ever be on. This is kind of Orson Welles Unchained, as they saying here. It's Orson Welles at his wildest and most bold. It is about as far away from Citizen Kane of his that you can get in terms of traditional, straightforward storytelling. This is the opposite of that. It's wild, wild film. But I'm lucky that we went from having like one Blu-ray release of it now to having 2 4K releases of it all within like a year or 2 years time. So I'm excited for that.
All right. Well, I think lastly,
We got
no.
two
Well, I thought we had another re-release, but we don't. So we do got some new stuff added to the collection. First, we'll start with the film that is a pretty recent film, and that is David Bowie's Moonage Daydream, coming in 4K. This is a film from 2022. I remember when this was coming out, it was getting talked about a lot, and
I got to see it.
I wanted to watch it. I know it's on Amazon, and I didn't get a chance to watch it, but it looked amazing. Please tell us about it.
Yes, because when this was announced that this was coming, I watched it, and yeah, it's a documentary, really, or more of kind of a tributary film to David Bowie, but it's done through the perspective of using like different performances from him, different interviews from him, clips, audio clips, using like newspaper headlines and all that kind of stuff to construct this kind of tapestry of like the the essence of Bowie. Not the essence, but like just a vibe really that Bowie gave off. But not only a vibe, but also kind of the different changes and challenges throughout his career and his identities and all of those things. David Bowie is probably one of the most complex public figures in entertainment that we've had in the 20th century, and it's really an interesting tapestry of all of those things, trying to construct or portray all of those things through these different mediums. And I thought it did a really interesting, unique job, as opposed to the most traditional way in which documentaries are structured, where you get interviews from people who knew David Bowie, people who were close to him, people who grew up with him. We've seen those documentaries types before. We've seen those so many times. This one takes it in a different filmmaking direction that is far more interesting than those traditional ones. That's what I really, really enjoyed about it. Very trippy as well, which I also really liked. So I recommend it for those of you who are fans of David Bowie. I don't think there's anything revelatory in it that you don't already probably know, but it's just the way in which the film is constructed. I really appreciated.
I was gonna say, it feels like it not only tries to pay tribute to him through the actual information it's giving you, but its style fits what Bowie maybe would have wanted,
Right.
because of the type of artist
eccentricity
he
of it
is.
all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I very much agree with that. And this is a 4K UHD release. It's got an audio commentary from the director, Q&A from the director, I believe, and then interview with like other people as well. So it's a little interesting modern release of a modern film. But the next one we have is not quite a modern film. Next one we have is a movie from 1987, a bit of a surprise edition. This is kind of the surprise. This is La Bamba, a biopic starring Lou Diamond Phillips and Issei Morales. And this is about Richie Valens, who unfortunately, tragically, I don't know if many people know this, he passed away in a plane crash in 1959 at the age of 17 years old, just as his career was starting.
Along with Billie Holiday.
Yes, along with Billie Holiday.
Other musician who was in there too. And yeah, 4 of them died, including the pilot. So it was kind of a big deal. I mean, Billie Holiday was already a star, I believe. He was already
more established. Yes,
established. Yeah, I mean,
I remember listening to the song La Bamba on the radio as a kid. I didn't it's only up until right now I didn't realize that is kind of like a Mexican folk song that Richie Valens essentially remixed or reinterpreted as a 1950s rock and roll song.
Yeah.
And he had other hits as well, but that's the one I think people remember him for the most, which is hence why this movie is titled that way. But this movie is interesting because it is a biopic. You are depicting the life of a real life person, but it's a very specific, very focused biopic of him at like 16, 17 years old, just right before he started his career, when he started his career, and then of course his ultimately tragic death. So it's very focused in there. You don't get the usual biopic tropes of like him as a kid and then growing up and then
Well, I
how the
mean, I mean, I mean,
he
the
turns
career was
into.
so short-lived that it couldn't be like a traditional.
Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah,
he literally died as a child. Really,
yeah.
17 is
I,
pretty much
I,
still a
I
child.
think that because of the speeding, how short the career was, and how much he did in such a short amount of time, I think that makes it unique. I also think, really, the central parallel in the movie is his parallel with his brother. His
Yes, Issei
brother is
Morales, who's very good in the movie.
he's really good in the film, and I believe you're getting a glimpse at him. He sees his brother who is very talented and taking chances and making progress in his life, but he's the older brother and he's behind
He's the
and
opposite.
he's opposite. He's not very good at a lot of things. He's trying to be. He tries to take the quick way. He like tries to cheat his way into success, and can't do it. And then he just he keeps going further and further down the rabbit hole. And before he can kind of become a better version of himself, his brother is gone. Like it's kind of a sad story, in that way that some of the most talented people die before they get a chance to really shine. Like and then people that like his brother who burns it at both ends through the whole movie is still there to see all the bad. Like it's sad. And I know it sounds like you're telling you the whole movie, but it is public.
It's a true
It's true
story.
story.
And I know
It's
a lot of people probably don't know who Richie Valens is. What's interesting is that Richie Valens is not his real name. His last name was Valenzuela, and they changed it for marketing
they wanted
reasons.
to not be as
They wanted to make it more
Spanish.
Anglo sounding, more English friendly. As they do as many artists have done over the time. Artists have done it, athletes have done it, the politicians have done it. They changed their
Yeah,
name. It's a really, I think, it's a really solid
it's
film.
solid.
It's a movie that has also been inducted into, I believe, the National Registry. So it's been deemed culturally important by the U.S. government. So it's preserved through time. So we do get a 2K digital restoration. Interesting, they didn't go for that 4K. Approved by director Louis Valdez. We do get also a new interview with Louis Valdez, and we also get a conversation, which is interesting here, between Valdez and filmmaker Robert Rodriguez from his El Rey network. He showed the director's chair, which is very interesting. I'm very curious about that. Yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips really good in the movie. Issei Morales, I think, is an underrated actor.
Yeah,
I don't think a lot of people know who he is, but a lot of people are about to know who he is because as of this recording, the movie hasn't come out yet. I think he's the antagonist in the next Mission Impossible movie that's coming out next
really.
month. Um, yes, I'm pretty sure that he is. Yes, he is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. If you've seen the trailer for it, he's in it, and I'm pretty sure he's the bad guy in it. so so that's very interesting. Um, I could be wrong about that, but I know he's in that movie. So people are about
Okay.
to know him very intimately when that movie makes like $1 billion because people like to go watch Tom Cruise and Chris McQuarrie team up movies. Um, yeah, and I know him more for his like television work because he's done lots of television work and stuff like that. He was also on the show Titans, where he played Slade Wilson. Also known as Deathstroke. So for those comic book fans out there, that's where he was recently. He was in a bunch of things. Uh, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this new edition. What's really cool about this slate is I think it's got stuff for everyone. Really,
Yeah.
people who complain that we don't get new stuff. Well, we got La Bamba, we got Moonage, Daydream, we got The Trial, all new movies that haven't been in the collection before, and we got some upgrades for people who like the 4K format and want some upgrades from stuff they have or have been waiting to buy. So you get
Yeah.
everything you want.
I agree. It's a fun mix here. Um, that's it, guys. That is it for Chasing Labels Spy Number 104. I do want to tell everybody that this next episode, we'll be taking a week off. I am on vacation, so I told Andrew, I was like, look, dude, take a break. He won't. He'll keep watching movies. He doesn't listen to me. But I told him, I just skip a week because I got a lot of stuff going on vacation, and I don't want to try to have to push this in the in the middle of all that craziness. So so we will be off next week, and we'll be back to our normal schedule after that. But once again, thanks to Justin Decloux over at Gold Ninja Video. I'll speak once I can catch my breath. Okay. But thanks again to Justin. It was great talking to you, man. And Andrew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Cabzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels, and that's it.
No, you sure?
Yeah, and we do have an upcoming episode of the Unwatched Pile.
Yeah.
So that we're continuing that series right away, and that will also be streaming live on our YouTube channel very soon.
Yes, friend of the show, Celeste Macaboro is going to be coming on. So watch out for that. And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings, or over at my Letterboxd, at Stephen Billings. You can find me also listening to Andrew sneeze, but also finding running the other pages that we have. You threw me off, the Twitter page, the Instagram page. And then you can find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Thanks again for listening. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.